Chapter 956. While they were talking, the situation in the arena changed immediately. Gao Qi seemed to have used up too much energy. His fists were a little slow in defending, leaving his chest wide open. Wang Zhiliang was delighted. He seized the opportunity and punched hard. In his opinion, this would be the end of the battle. Gao Qi had already won 5 matches in a row. If he was the one to end his winning streak, it would definitely be something to be proud of. However, after he punched, he found that Gao Qi, who had been exhausted, suddenly burst out with speed twice as fast as before. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared from where he was and reappeared behind him. Before Wang Zhiliang could react, Gao Qi kicked him in the butt and sent him flying off the arena. The audience was silent. The situation had changed so quickly that the spectating students could not come back to their senses for a while. Wang Zhiliang had the absolute upper hand a moment ago, but in the blink of an eye, the situation had changed 360 degrees. Some people did not even see clearly what had happened on the arena before Wang Zhiliang was defeated. After a pause, the audience burst into an uproar again. The happy ones were the students of the South Courtyard, who were constantly cheering. Wang Zhiliang got up from the ground with an awkward expression. If he had fought steadily and calmly, he would have definitely won the match. However, he was deceived by Gao Qi and lost the match. The North Courtyard had lost 6 matches in a row since the start of the competition and was becoming more and more passive. What are you doing? Can you be any more useless? You've disgraced the North Courtyard. We've lost 6 matches in a row. We might as well just admit defeat and not embarrass ourselves there. Some of the North Courtyard students had completely lost their confidence. They shouted while watching, while the South Courtyard's morale was high. Yu Wanren looked at Qin Haodong and said with gritted teeth, "I didn't expect the North Courtyard to be so useless. Will this guy lose before I can even make a move?" Tu Jiaojiao said, "You're overthinking it. We still don't see any hope of winning." Yu Wanren said, "How is that possible? We haven't lost a single match yet, and they only have 4 students left." "In a battle like this, only 1 or 2 people will win," Tu Jiaojiao said. "We sent out Gao Qi right at the start to gain the upper hand. The Northern College's response is more brilliant than we thought. They want to take the final victory in one go." Yu Wanren said coldly, "Absolutely not. This time the title of king will definitely belong to me." Tu Jiaojiao smiled and said, "Then I can only wish you good luck." Murong Jinghong couldn't hold it in any longer and said, "Haodong, how about I do it?" "It's not your turn yet." Qin Haodong stopped Murong Jinghong and said to Qiong, "You do it." "All right, I'll definitely teach these people from the South Campus a lesson." After taking the Dragon Power Elixir, Fang Qiong-er's cultivation level had leaped to the peak void refinement state. She had been waiting for the right moment to go on stage. After receiving Qin Haodong's order, she tiptoed and jumped directly into the ring. "Begin." Hai Jingming shouted, and the 7th match of the North-South Academy competition began. "I wonder if Senior Gao can create another miracle and win 7 rounds in a row. I think so. I know this woman. She was only at the middle stage void refinement state before. She's definitely no match for Senior Gao. The North Campus is too weak. It seems that this year's victory belongs to the South Campus again." Gao Qi was in a good mood after winning 6 rounds in a row. He was very proud of himself, and his confidence was boosted when he saw that his opponent was Fang Qiong-er. They were all old students of the Black Tortoise Institution and knew each other very well. In his opinion, Fang Qiong-er was only at the middle stage void refinement state and was no match for him at all. It seemed that he was destined to create a miracle of winning 7 rounds in a row. Thinking of this, he moved his feet and threw a punch at Fang Qiong-er's face. However, at this moment, a long and slender leg suddenly appeared in front of him. It was too fast. Gao Qi turned pale with fright. He didn't expect Fang Qiong-er to be so fast, and her kick carried a powerful aura. It was obvious that she had reached the peak void refinement state. "Oh my god, what the hell is going on?" In his shock, it was too late for him to dodge. Fang Qiong-er's kick landed heavily on his chest. Like a cannonball, Gao Qi was kicked off the arena without any strength to fight back. 1 move to kill. The students of the South Campus who were watching from below the arena were discussing their opinions, but before they could finish, Gao Qi had already landed in front of them. This is too fast, isn't it?" The result was beyond everyone's expectations. The students of the North Campus had finally won their first round. Cheers and shouts filled the arena. Ouyang Lan said, "This little girl's cultivation is improving very quickly." Luo Dongqing said, "This is all arranged by our grandson-in-law. The competition has just begun." Tu Jiaojiao had cultivated in the 7th stage pagoda with the others, so she was very clear about everyone's cultivation, so she was not surprised by this result. Not to mention that Gao Qi was already an arrow at the end of its flight. Even at his peak he probably wouldn't be able to withstand Fang Qiong'er's kick. She waved her hand and let another student enter the arena. In the end it was still one move, and the student was kicked off the arena in less than a minute. Then came the third and fourth place. Fang Qiong'er stood alone in the arena and actually won 8 rounds in a row. On the South Campus's side, only Yu Wanren and Tu Jiaojiao had not fought yet. The other 8 had all been defeated. The spectating students were all dumbfounded. The plot had changed too quickly. Just a moment ago the South Campus had completely gained the upper hand, but now it was showing signs of being trampled underfoot. Luo Dongqing said proudly, "What do you think, old woman? I've already let you win for 5 years. I definitely won't let you win again this year." Ouyanglan snorted and said, "What are you so proud of? The 2 most powerful people on our side haven't fought yet. It's still uncertain who will win in the end." Tu Jiaojiao said to Yu Wanren, "It's just the 2 of us left. You or me." "I'll do it," Yu Wanren said as he strode into the arena. He had his own considerations. He was very clear about Tu Jiaojiao's strength. If he was the last to fight, it would be troublesome if Tu Jiaojiao defeated all 4 people in front of her. Not only would he not get the title of king, but he would also lose the chance to avenge his brother. Therefore he chose to enter the arena before Tu Jiaojiao. Yu Wanren had always considered himself to be the #1 expert of the South Campus. After entering the arena he said arrogantly, "Don't waste time. Make your move." Just as Fang Qiong'er was about to make her move, Qin Haodong's voice sounded in her ears. Then she said without hesitation, "I admit defeat." She had defeated 8 opponents in a row and had consumed a lot of her strength. Moreover, Qin Haodong had already seen through Yu Wanren's cultivation. Under such circumstances she would only be humiliating herself if she made a move. After Fang Qiong'er left the arena, Yun Chanshan said, "Let me fight this round." Qin Haodong nodded and strode into the arena. Yu Wanren said proudly, "You're no match for me. Let that Qin brat come up." "How arrogant. Defeat me first." Yun Chanshan no longer held back. She slammed her palm toward Yu Wanren's chest. At the same time, the aura of the peak of the void refinement realm suddenly erupted. After feeling her aura, the crowd below the arena was shocked. They didn't expect that the North Campus would have 2 more students at the peak of the void refinement realm besides Murong Jinghong. Wang Jitsong was dumbfounded. He had thought that after breaking through to the peak of the void refinement realm, he was already one of the best in the academy, second only to Murong Jinghong. He didn't expect that the 2 girls next to him would be so much stronger than him. Song Junyu was even more shocked. She was an old student of the academy and knew very well that Yun Chanshan and Fang Qiong'er's cultivation was similar to hers. How did they reach the peak of the void refinement realm in just a month? Could it be related to Qin Haodong? Ouyanglan said, "I didn't expect the strength of the North Campus to improve so quickly this year. There are actually so many people at the peak of the void refinement realm." Luo Dongqing said, "I don't know what this brat is doing either. He brought this group of girls to train, and the cultivation of the people around him has increased by leaps and bounds." In the arena, facing Yun Chanshan's palm strike, Yu Wanren snorted coldly and met it with his palm without backing down. With a loud bang the palms collided. The fight between 2 experts at the peak of the void refinement realm immediately caused a gust of wind to sweep up in the arena, causing Hai Jingming's clothes to flutter. After the head-on collision, Yun Chanshan took 3 or 4 steps back, while Yu Wanren's body only swayed a little before he pounced on her again. It was obvious that Yu Wanren had an absolute advantage in terms of cultivation. The 2 of them exchanged more than 100 blows in a row. Finally Yu Wanren's palm landed on Yun Chanshan's shoulder and knocked her off the arena. Although he had won, Yu Wanren's expression was more solemn than before. After all, there was still Murong Jinghong who was even more powerful and Qin Haodong who was unfathomable. Qin Haodong went over to help Yun Chanshan up. "Are you okay?" Yun Chanshan shook her head and said, "It's nothing. It's just a superficial wound." Qin Haodong said, "I'll apply some ointment for you and you'll be fine soon." After that, he asked Yun Chanshan to sit down and began to treat the injury on her shoulder. At this moment, everyone's eyes were focused on Murong Jinghong, especially the students of the Northern College. Jinghong Fairy was their goddess and the publicly acknowledged #1 expert. Murong Jinghong glanced at Qin Haodong and nodded in acknowledgement before walking up the arena. She walked very slowly as if she was taking a leisurely stroll. However, with every step she took, her aura grew stronger. By the time she arrived before Yu Wanren, her aura had fully erupted. She had clearly reached the early stage of the body integration realm. My goodness, Jinghong Fairy has already reached the early stage of the body integration realm. She's indeed the #1 expert of the Northern College. With Jinghong Fairy here, we'll definitely win today's match. My goddess is so powerful. It seems that Jinghong Fairy will be the champion this year. Yu Wanren looked at Murong Jinghong and said, I didn't expect you to reach the threshold of the body integration realm after a year. Murong Jinghong said, why? Are you going to admit defeat? Admit defeat? Yu Wanren smiled proudly. You underestimate me. There's no such thing as admitting defeat when it comes to me. Why do you think I've been in seclusion all this time? You, Murong Jinghong, aren't the only ones who can reach the body integration realm. I can too. I originally wanted to surprise that Qin brat, but it seems like there's no need to hide anymore. After saying that, his aura suddenly surged and instantly broke through the Great Void Refinement realm and reached the early stage of the body integration realm. Seeing that the students on both sides had reached the early stage of the body integration realm, the audience was in an uproar. In the history of the Black Tortoise Academy, anyone who reached the Great Void Refinement realm could become the #1 expert. There had never been 2 body integration realm experts like today. Chapter 957. After completely unleashing his aura, Yu Wanren said to Murong Jinghong, draw your sword. Murong Jinghong shook his head. I don't need to draw my sword against you. She did not choose to use the startling sword. This was an internal competition, not a life-and-death battle. Moreover, the startling sword was excessively sharp, and she would either die or be injured if she did not control it well. Secondly, she was proud. Since her opponent was unarmed, she did not want to take advantage of him in terms of weapons. Yu Wanren was overjoyed. Actually, he was just trying to goad Murong Jinghong into using the startling sword. Both of them had the same cultivation, so he would definitely be at a disadvantage if Murong Jinghong used the startling sword. Ice Soul Divine Fist. Murong Jinghong punched out, and the air in the arena seemed to have dropped by dozens of degrees. The spectating students near the arena could feel the biting cold wind. For a moment, a thin layer of ice formed on the ground. The powerful force swept up the snowflakes and abruptly swept towards Yu Wanren. This was the power of a body integration expert. Blazing Flame Fist. Yu Wanren let out a loud shout and threw a punch as well. The scorching wind from his fist stirred up streams of flames and clashed with Murong Jinghong's frigid cold energy. Clouds of white mist appeared and enveloped the entire arena. The Ice Soul Divine Fist and Blazing Flame Palm were both ordinary skills taught by the Black Tortoise Academy, but they were shockingly powerful when used by the 2 of them. After the 2 forces collided, a muffled bang was heard. Immediately after, a violent gust of wind blew away the mist, allowing the spectators to see the arena clearly again. Murong Jinghong and Yu Wanren were both in their original positions. They seemed to be evenly matched, but only they themselves knew who was stronger. Yu Wanren's expression became increasingly grim. He was at a disadvantage in the previous exchange. After a month of seclusion, he had broken through the bottleneck of the perfect void refinement realm and reached the early stage body integration realm through his own efforts. However, his method of breaking through was still slightly weaker than Murong Jinghong's. Murong Jinghong had consumed a dragon power pill, which possessed extremely powerful spiritual power. At the same time, he was cultivating on the 7th floor of the Buddha Pagoda, where the spiritual energy was much denser than outside. Therefore, under such circumstances, Murong Jinghong's cultivation was slightly higher than his, despite both of them having just broken through to the early stage body integration realm. Following that, the 2 of them clashed once again. This was a battle where the 2 of them were the closest in terms of strength, and also had the highest cultivation. Therefore, it was extremely exciting to watch, causing the spectating students to exclaim in delight. Around them, the cheers grew louder and louder. The Northern College and Northern College had been competing against each other for so many years, and the Northern College had already lost 5 matches in a row. Today, the students of the Northern College finally saw hope for victory, so their emotions soared, and their cheers were earth-shattering. In the beginning, the 2 of them were evenly matched, but as time passed, Murong Jinghong's advantage in cultivation became more and more obvious, and he gradually gained the upper hand. After fighting for more than an hour, Murong Jinghong seized an opportunity and punched Yu Wanren in the chest. The punch of a form synthesis stage expert was so shockingly powerful that Yu Wanren was immediately sent flying out of the arena like a fired bullet. Fortunately, Murong Jinghong had not used his full strength in this match. This punch had only knocked him off the stage. Otherwise, even if he did not die, he would have been severely injured. Yu Wanren crawled up from the ground and looked at Murong Jinghong in the arena, then at Qin Haodong beside him. His eyes were filled with indignation. This defeat meant that he had lost the chance to win the title of king, and at the same time he had lost the chance to defeat Qin Haodong. However, there was nothing he could do about it. Strength was strength, and Murong Jinghong's strength was slightly higher than his. Victory! Jinghong Ferry has finally won. Our Northern College has finally won. Long live Jinghong Ferry. The Northern College will definitely win. What's so great about that? Didn't you just win one match? Our most powerful senior sister Tu Jiaojiao hasn't even entered the arena yet. Below the arena, the students of the Northern and Southern College were engaged in a war of words, neither giving way to the other. In the arena, Hai Jingming announced that Murong Jinghong had won this match. Then the last student of the Southern College, Tu Jiaojiao, entered the arena. Tu Jiaojiao was wearing a fiery red robe today, looking even more alluring and sexy. If Murong Jinghong was the Northern College's Jinghong Fairy, then she would be the Southern College's goddess, the idol of countless men. Therefore, when she walked into the arena, the students of the Southern College immediately became excited and cheered for their goddess. In the arena, the two of them looked at each other and smiled when they saw each other. There was no anger as expected. Murong Jinghong said, "Sister Jiaojiao, we haven't fought before. Let's have a good fight today." Tu Jiaojiao said, "There's no suspense in this kind of match. It's meaningless to fight or not." When the students below the arena heard this, they thought that Tu Jiaojiao was arrogant and thought that she would definitely defeat Murong Jinghong. In fact, only the two people on the arena knew the real meaning. Murong Jinghong said, "The result doesn't matter. What matters is the process. We still have to fight." Tu Jiaojiao made a starting gesture and said, "Okay, let's fight. Sister Jiaojiao, be careful." Murong Jinghong shouted, then bent his fingers like a sword and stabbed at Tu Jiaojiao's face. She used her fingers as a sword and performed the startling sword technique. Although she didn't use the startling sword, her fingers were still filled with sword qi and cold air. Tu Jiaojiao's fiery red figure gently dodged the sword qi. Then she also bent her fingers like a sword and stabbed at Murong Jinghong's ribs. Murong Jinghong raised his hand and pointed out. The sword qi of the two collided, and there was an earth-shattering explosion in the arena. This was an even more exciting match. First of all, the two beautiful women were extremely eye-catching. Coupled with their cultivation at the form synthesis stage, their movements were like butterflies flying through flowers. For a moment, it was too much for the audience to take in. Yun Chanshan said to Qin Haodong, "Who do you think will win, Sister Jiaojiao or Sister Murong?" Qin Haodong said, "It should be Tu Jiaojiao. Their cultivation is similar, but Tu Jiaojiao has a deeper understanding of martial arts." In the audience, Ouyang Lan said, "Old man, you're going to lose again this time." Luo Dongqing shook her head and said with a smile, "It's impossible for us to lose. Although Murong Jinghong is a little weaker than Tu Jiaojiao, our grandson-in-law hasn't fought yet." Ouyang Lan said, "Is he stronger than Murong Jinghong?" She had fought with Qin Haodong twice in a row. She knew that Qin Haodong's cultivation was only at the peak of the void training realm. Logically speaking, it was impossible for him to be a match for a cultivator at the form synthesis stage. Luo Dongqing said, "That guy can't be judged by common sense at all. You'll know later." In the arena, the two women fought back and forth until they had exchanged more than 200 moves. Suddenly, the figures on the stage disappeared and both of them stopped. At this moment, Murong Jinghong and Tu Jiaojiao on the stage were like two motionless statues. Murong Jinghong's two fingers were about a foot away from Tu Jiaojiao's throat. At the same time, Tu Jiaojiao's two fingers were less than an inch away from Murong Jinghong's heart. This kind of distance also represented the gap in strength. If this was a life-and-death battle, Tu Jiaojiao could kill Murong Jinghong first. Murong Jinghong withdrew his fingers and said, "I lost." Tu Jiaojiao just smiled slightly and said nothing. Seeing the scene on the stage, the students watching from below the stage suddenly became excited. The students of the South Campus were cheering, while the people of the North Campus were dejected and disappointed. Murong Jinghong had already lost. Were they going to lose for the 6th time in a row? Following Hai Jingming's announcement that Tu Jiaojiao had won this match, everyone's eyes were focused on the only remaining student of the North Campus, Qin Haodong. Hai Jingming said, "Let's invite the last student of the North Campus to the stage to decide who is the king of today." Qin Haodong stood up and walked step by step toward the stage. There was no nervousness on his face. Instead, there was a faint smile on his face. "Isn't that the rookie king of our academy this year?" He's at most in the void refinement stage. How can he be Tu Jiaojiao's opponent? It seems that our North Campus is finished this year. That's not necessarily true. Didn't you notice that he's the captain of the North Campus? Logically speaking, his strength should be higher than Fairy Murong. That's impossible. He's just a first-year student. How can he be stronger than Fairy Murong? I heard that he has a good relationship with the little witch Luo Hongying. He must have used his relationship with Dean Luo to become the captain. Song Junyu looked at the man on the stage. At this moment, she realized that she couldn't see through this person at all. It was as if he was a mystery. Could it be that he was really hiding his strength and had a cultivation that surpassed the form synthesis stage? Wang Zhiliang, who was next to her, was the same. When Qin Haodong was chosen as the captain, he was very unconvinced. But up until now, even Murong Jinghong had been defeated. All the hopes of the North Campus had fallen on this man. They didn't know if he would disappoint them. Seeing Qin Haodong's calm smile, the people of the South Campus also became nervous. Who is this person? He actually came out later than Murong Jinghong. Could it be that his strength is higher? Is he the trump card of the North Campus? What a bullsh *T trump card. I think the North Campus really has no one to use, so they used him to make up the numbers. In fact, he came up to admit defeat. Didn't you see the way he was smiling? It looks like he has no intention of fighting at all. Senior Tu Jiaojiao is an expert at the form synthesis stage. It won't take her more than 3 moves to deal with this guy. Yu Wanren stood at the side and looked at Qin Haodong on the stage with eyes full of hatred. Unfortunately, he had no chance to avenge his brother. He didn't even have the chance to stand on the stage together with Qin Haodong. On the spectator stand, Luo Dongqing said proudly, "My grandson-in-law has made his move. This year's champion will definitely belong to the North Campus." Ouyang Lan said, "Are you that confident in him?" Luo Dongqing smiled strangely. "You'll know the result in a moment." Qin Haodong ignored the discussions around him. He walked to the center of the arena and smiled at Tu Jiaojiao. "Senior, we meet again so soon." Tu Jiaojiao smiled sweetly. "I really don't want to see you. If it weren't for you, today's champion would be me." Qin Haodong said, "Isn't the competition not yet? Perhaps the final winner will be you." "Alright, stop joking. I don't want to be abused. Remember to treat me to a meal later." Tu Jiaojiao said loudly to Hai Jingming. "I admit defeat." Chapter 958. Hai Jingming was stunned when he heard the words "I admit defeat." He didn't expect that the opponent he had high hopes for would admit defeat before the match even started. At the same time, the audience was dumbfounded. No one expected that the number 1 expert of the South Campus, Tu Jiaojiao, would admit defeat. What was going on? After a brief silence, the audience burst into an uproar. What is she doing? What is Senior Tu Jiaojiao doing? Doesn't she know that she's representing the South Campus? How could she surrender without a fight? That's so embarrassing. That's impossible. Did I hear it wrong? How could Senior Tu Jiaojiao admit defeat? There must be something going on behind the scenes. How could that unknown brat be Senior Sister Tu Jiaojiao's opponent? The students of the South Campus were in an uproar. They could accept defeat, but not Tu Jiaojiao's surrender. The North Campus was also in an uproar. However, unlike the South Campus, they were more excited and happy. "Oh my God, did I hear it wrong? The South Campus admitted defeat. Did we finally win the North-South Campus tournament?" Happiness came too suddenly. We actually won. And that kid on the stage, he won the title of champion without doing anything. Is there anyone luckier than him? Yeah, it's too easy to be the champion. I can do it too. Luo Dongqing burst into laughter. "Old woman, did you see that? This is the power of our grandson-in-law. He subdued the South Campus without using a single move." Ouyang Lan's expression was ugly. She didn't understand why Tu Jiaojiao admitted defeat just like that. However, there was no rule against admitting defeat, so she couldn't say anything. Everyone was puzzled by Tu Jiaojiao's actions. Only Yun Qianqian and a few others knew what was going on, especially Murong Jinghong. When Tu Jiaojiao went up to the stage to fight with her, she had already expressed this intention. However, most people couldn't accept this result. Yu Wanren was the most furious. He couldn't accept that his enemy had taken the champion's crown so easily. Just as Hai Jingming was about to make a decision, he came to the grandstand and shouted to Luo Dongqing and Ouyang Lan, "Deans, I'm not convinced. I can't accept this result." Seeing that someone stood out and publicly questioned, the noisy scene immediately quietened down. Everyone wanted to see how the 2 deans would deal with this matter. Ouyang Lan said, It's the right of the contestants to take the initiative to admit defeat. What right do you have to object? Dean, you're right. The contestants can indeed take the initiative to admit defeat. However, today's competition is different. Tu Jiaojiao isn't representing herself. Rather, she's representing all of us. Therefore, she doesn't have the right to admit defeat. Yu Wanren said angrily, I've long heard that Tu Jiaojiao had an affair with Qin Haodong. Now it seems that all the rumors are true. She actually sacrificed the honor of the entire southern campus for this man. Think about it, we've had a total of 19 rounds in today's competition. But this kid surnamed Qin hasn't even moved a finger, and he's going to take away the crown of the king. If this is acceptable, then what reason is there to speak of? What justice is there to speak of? I implore the two deans to uphold justice and disqualify Qin Haodong and Tu Jiaojiao from participating in the competition and drive them out of our Black Tortoise Academy. This kind of person is absolutely a disgrace to our academy. His words immediately aroused the anger of the students in the arena. Many people followed and shouted one after another. Dean, please uphold justice and disqualify them from participating in the competition. We don't accept Tu Jiaojiao admitting defeat. We don't accept the result of the competition. We don't accept that she took away the honor of the king without moving a finger. Shady. Disgraceful. Our academy will never allow this to happen. For a moment, the atmosphere in the arena exploded. Some people were angry because Tu Jiaojiao had admitted defeat, while others were annoyed because their goddess had fallen. Tu Jiaojiao was willing to give away the honor of the king. It was evident how deep her love for this man was. A trace of pride flashed across Yu Wanren's face. He said to the stage, See that, deans? This is what everyone wants. I hope you can uphold justice and be impartial. He was well aware of the relationship between Qin Haodong and Luo Hongying, so he deliberately pointed out the words impartial. Ouyang Lan and Luo Dongqing glanced at each other. Luo Dongqing signaled to Ouyang Lan to deal with this matter. Everyone please be quiet. As a master of the Deshang stage, although Ouyang Lan's voice was not loud, it was clearly sent to everyone's ears. She had an extremely high prestige in the entire Black Tortoise Academy, so everyone shut their mouths after she spoke. Rest assured, everyone. I'll definitely give you an explanation to ensure the fairness of the competition, said Ouyang Lan. But a competition is a competition and rules are rules. In the case of a great disparity in strength, participants are allowed to take the initiative to admit defeat. Therefore, we still have to hear what Tu Jiaojiao has to say before we present the final result. After she said that, everyone looked at the arena and focused their eyes on Tu Jiaojiao. Ouyang Lan spoke again, Tu Jiaojiao, what's your reason for admitting defeat? Give everyone an explanation. If your explanation is reasonable, the Academy will support your decision. If it's unreasonable, the Academy will consider revoking your right to participate in the competition. Tu Jiaojiao nodded and said, All right, President. Since everyone needs an explanation, then I'll give it to everyone. Yu Wanren said, What else is there to explain? It's obvious that you're using our Academy's honor to please your man. Ouyang Lan frowned and said coldly, Yu Wanren, it's Tu Jiaojiao's time to explain now. Don't speak carelessly. Yu Wanren didn't dare to provoke this extremely tough old lady. Although he was unwilling, he immediately shut his mouth. Tu Jiaojiao said, Let me first introduce my cultivation. Everyone has seen that I've reached the early stage of the form synthesis realm. To be honest, it's very difficult to make any further progress after reaching the peak of the void refinement realm. I've been stuck in this realm for 3 years, but I still haven't broken through to the form synthesis realm. I'm still at the peak of the void refinement realm even until I rush to the 7th order pagoda this time. The reason why I'm able to cross the threshold of the form synthesis realm now is all thanks to the dragon power pill that junior brother Qin Haodong gave me. With this pill, I broke through the bottleneck of the void refinement realm. The dragon power pill. That's a 7th grade pill. One of them can be sold for more than 100,000 supreme grade spirit stones at the auction. Not only is this pill expensive, but its ingredients are also extremely rare. I heard that it needs to be refined with dragon saliva. Ordinary people can't buy it even if they have the money. Qin Haodong casually gave away the dragon power pill. If a man is willing to treat me like this, I'm also willing to be his girlfriend and bear his children. Tu Jiaojiao continued, When junior brother Qin Haodong gave me the pill, he already knew that the competition between the North and South colleges was about to take place. He also knew that I would be representing the South College as his opponent. Under such circumstances, he still gave the pill to me without hesitation. It shows how broad-minded he is. Yu Wanren could not help but stand up again when he heard this. He said to the rostrum, Dean, I disagree with Tu Jiaojiao's reason. Even if Qin Haodong helped her raise her cultivation, she still has to be responsible for the entire South College during the competition. She has to fight with her true strength and not admit defeat because of her personal feelings. Moreover, Qin Haodong gave away the dragon power pill not because of his broad-mindedness, but because he coveted someone's beauty. Tu Jiaojiao said angrily, "You Wanren, shut up. Don't measure the heart of a gentleman with your own mean measure, alright?" Yu Wanren said, "You know what's going on yourself. No matter what, this is not a reason for you to admit defeat." Ouyanglan said, "Tu Jiaojiao, what you just said is indeed very far-fetched. If you're grateful to Qin Haodong for helping you raise your cultivation, you can give up the competition instead of admitting defeat." "Dean, I'm not done yet." Tu Jiaojiao continued, "The reason why I admitted defeat was entirely because my strength was no match for Qin Haodong. It was completely reasonable for me to admit defeat when there was such a huge difference in strength." Yu Wanren sneered, "Tu Jiaojiao, do you think we're all fools? You're already at the early stage of body integration. I don't believe that his cultivation is much higher than yours." Tu Jiaojiao looked at him and said, "Do you know the number 1 expert of Black Tortoise Kingdom, Zhang Sun Qingqing?" Yu Wanren did not understand why Tu Jiaojiao suddenly changed the topic, but he still said, "Of course I do. Imperial advisor Zhang Sun Qingqing is at the great vehicle stage and is known as the number 1 expert of Xuanwu Kingdom." Tu Jiaojiao said, "Qin Haodong killed Zhang Sun Qingqing just before we came back. Do you think I should admit defeat in the face of such an expert? Is he worthy of the title of our academy's king?" As the Black Tortoise Academy was quite far from the Black Tortoise Royal City, the news of Zhang Sun Qingqing's death had yet to reach here. When they heard the news from Tu Jiaojiao herself, the crowd immediately burst into an uproar. "What? This young man actually killed Zhang Sun Qingqing? How is that possible? To be able to shoot a master of the Deshang stage, is this true or false? No matter what, as long as he can kill a great vehicle stage expert, he is definitely worthy of the title of our Black Tortoise Academy's king. This is an honor for all of us." Tu Jiaojiao had immediately turned the current situation around with a single message. In the eyes of the other students, admitting defeat to an expert who could kill a great vehicle stage expert was definitely not a shameful thing. Even the students of the Southern Academy felt that Tu Jiaojiao's admission of defeat was a very wise choice and no longer had any objections. Seeing that the situation was getting out of control, Yu Wanren shouted, "Who knows if what you said is true or false? Anyone can brag." At this moment, Luo Dongqing, who was in the stands, spoke. "I can guarantee in the name of the Vice Dean of the Black Tortoise Academy that what Tu Jiaojiao said is true. I once followed them to the Black Tortoise Royal City, and it was indeed Qin Haodong who killed Zhang Sun Qingqing on the spot." Ouyanglan glared at him and said in a low voice, "Why didn't you tell me such an important thing?" Luo Dongqing chuckled. "I was afraid that you wouldn't agree to the format of this year's Battle of the Kings if you knew." After receiving Luo Dongqing's confirmation, Yu Wanren's face turned pale and he could no longer say anything. In the face of absolute strength, he had no right to question. The other students in the audience no longer had any objections to Tu Jiaojiao's admission of defeat. Seeing that everyone had calmed down, Hai Jingming walked to the center of the arena and said, "I hereby announce that the Northern Academy is the winner of the North-South Academy tournament. Student Qin Haodong is the king of our Black Tortoise Academy." Chapter 959. King. 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 A tsunami of cheers erupted below the stage. At this moment, no one was dissatisfied. To be able to kill Zhang Sun Qingqing, a Mahayana expert, he was undoubtedly the strongest student in the history of the Black Tortoise Institute. He deserved the title of king. Yu Wanren's face was livid. He was unwilling, but there was nothing he could do now. Then Luo Dongqing happily walked onto the stage and said to the crowd, "Congratulations to Qin Haodong for becoming the king of our institute. According to the rules of the North-South Institute tournament, he will decide the list of students who can enter the Black Tortoise Spirit Pool." All the students became nervous, especially those from the South Institute. Their institute had lost the tournament, and they did not know if they would be given the chance to enter the Spirit Pool. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Qin Haodong announced the list of students from the Xuanwu Institute to cultivate in the Spirit Pool. There were a total of 7 people from the North Institute. Apart from himself, they were Murong Jinghong, Yun Chanqian, Fang Qiong'er, Song Junyu, Wang Zhiliang, and another student. The South Institute was Tu Jiaojiao, Yu Wanren, and Gao Qi. On the spectator stand, Luo Dongqing and Ouyanglan nodded repeatedly. This arrangement was very fair and in line with the current strength. Luo Dongqing said, It seems that our grandson-in-law is very generous. He did not argue with Yuanren at all. Ouyang Lan nodded, which was rare of her. Not bad, he has the heart of a king. Many people were surprised by this result, including Yuanren himself. In his opinion, he would not be selected this time because he had repeatedly made things difficult for Qin Haodong and had a feud with Qin Haodong for killing his brother. He did not expect that he would be selected. What these people did not know was that Qin Haodong did not care about Yuanren at all. As long as he wanted to, he could squash this ant to death at any time. At this point in the tournament, all the events had come to an end, and the spectating students dispersed. Luo Dongqing announced that the selected students would gather tomorrow morning and head to the Black Tortoise Spirit Pool together. Qin Haodong returned to the dormitory with Murong Jinghong and the others. On the way he asked, "What's the deal with this Black Tortoise Spirit Pool?" Among those present, only Murong Jinghong had entered the Black Tortoise Spirit Spring before. She said, "The Black Tortoise Spirit Spring is the eye of the spiritual vein, but the main spring has been sealed off by the Black Tortoise royal family. Only the large and small spirit springs outside can be used by other forces. After so many years of profit distribution, everyone has reached an equilibrium. Among them, 5 small spirit springs belong to our Black Tortoise Institute." Qin Haodong said, "Only 5? Wasn't it a little too little? There are 10 of us." Murong Jinghong said, "You really are greedy. To be able to obtain 5 spirit springs is completely due to the strength and prestige of the Black Tortoise Institute. The other small institutes can't even obtain 1 spirit spring. This spirit spring comes directly from the underground spirit veins, which is extremely beneficial to the growth of a cultivator's strength. The last time I entered the Black Tortoise Spirit Spring, my strength rose to the great circle of the void tempering stage. However, the amount of spiritual qi in the spiritual spring was also limited. It could only be opened once a year for 24 hours. After that, it needed to be rested. Otherwise, there would be no more spiritual spring to use in the future. As for the distribution of members, every time we enter the top 5, 2 of us will be assigned to 1 spirit spring." Qin Haodong nodded. He was very clear about this principle. "Is there a rule in the institute about who will be in a group?" Murong Jinghong said, "Generally speaking, students who have a good relationship with each other form their own groups. If they can't make a good choice, it will be decided by the leading teacher of the institute." Speaking of this, she glanced at Qin Haodong, but in the end she did not say anything. From the bottom of her heart, she really wanted to cultivate with the man in front of her, but unfortunately Fang Qiong'er and Yun Shanshan were next to him. Everyone liked Qin Haodong, and this was something that everyone knew. It was not good for her to take the initiative to fight for herself. If the little witch was here, she would definitely be the first to jump out and fight for a spirit spring with Qin Haodong. However, the 3 girls in front of him were not the kind of people who were bold and unrestrained. Although Yun Shanshan and Fang Qiong'er had the same idea, they did not say it. Although they did not speak, they had reached a tacit understanding in their hearts that the final choice would be in Qin Haodong's hands. However, Qin Haodong did not think about these girls. What he was concerned about now was how much his cultivation could improve through the Black Tortoise Spirit Spring, and when he could return to Earth. After chatting for a while, they returned to the dormitory. Without the little witch's initiative to invite them, the girls were too embarrassed to ask to stay with Qin Haodong, so they returned to their own dormitory. Just as Qin Haodong entered the door, a beautiful figure appeared in front of the dormitory. It was Song Junyu, who had just broken up with him. The results of the competition were far beyond her expectations, and it had completely overturned her previous understanding of Qin Haodong. On the way back, she thought about it carefully and realized that ever since Qin Haodong entered the Black Tortoise Institute, all the students who went against this man did not end up well. This included Xiao Yulong, who was second only to Murong Jinghong, and the arrogant Xuepan He Kaishan and the Dong Junjiang brothers. Ever since these people chose to go against Qin Haodong, they all ended up in a miserable state. Some died, some were crippled, and some were expelled. Instead, everyone who was on good terms with him had received great benefits. Tu Jiaojiao and Murong Jinghong had broken through to the form synthesis stage, and Yun Shanshan and Fang Qiong'er, who were originally close to her, had also leaped to the peak of void training stage. In contrast, she, who used to be ranked above Yun Shanshan, had become dull. "It seems that I have to make some changes and get closer to this man." She was not a stubborn person. After coming to this conclusion, she took the initiative to come to Qin Haodong's dormitory to express her goodwill. When she came to the door, she said to Qin Haodong, "Can I come in?" Of course. Qin Haodong did not have a good impression of this woman, but he did not hate her either. He directly led her into the yard. Senior Song, what's the matter? Song Junyu said, Junior, my attitude towards you today was a little inappropriate. I'm here to apologize to you, and thank you for choosing me to cultivate in the spirit spring. It's nothing. Qin Haodong smiled slightly. I chose this list completely according to the strength in my heart. Senior, you have the strength to enter the Black Tortoise Spirit Spring, so you don't have to thank me. No matter what, I still want to thank you. If you need my help in the future, just let me know. I'll do my best. Song Junyu fully expressed her goodwill. Qin Haodong said, I appreciate your kindness, Senior. Let's take care of each other in the future. Okay, I'll go back first. See you tomorrow. After expressing her intention, Song Junyu did not stay any longer and turned to leave the dormitory. However, before Qin Haodong could return to his room, another figure appeared in front of the door. If Song Junyu's arrival was reasonable, then this person was somewhat unexpected to Qin Haodong. The person was Yu Wanren, who was at loggerheads just a moment ago. At this moment, the previous hatred had disappeared and was replaced by a face full of flattery. Brother Qin, I'm here to apologize to you. After saying that, Yu Wanren directly pushed open the courtyard door and walked in. He said with a smile, Brother Qin, it's really my fault today. I'm here to apologize to you. Qin Haodong did not say anything and just looked at him quietly. Yu Wanren did not show the slightest embarrassment and continued, Brother Qin, it was actually just a moment of impulse on my part today. I've also learned about my brother's death. He asked for it and can't blame anyone else. I was also impulsive today, but I was completely subdued by your magnanimity later on. I've treated you like that, yet you're still able to put me on the list of 10. I, your big brother, really admire your magnanimity. I'm here to express my stance. Let bygones be bygones. I won't mention a word about my brother in the future. Please forgive my rashness today. How about it? Qin Haodong said with a double meaning, Sure. I've always been a person who doesn't offend me, but I won't be polite to anyone who has bad ideas about me. Yu Wanren patted his chest and said, Brother Qin, don't worry. You're my friend from now on. I, Yu Wanren, will be the first to disagree with anyone who disrespects you. Qin Haodong said, Is there anything else? Yu Wanren said, It's like this, Brother Qin. There aren't many male students going to the Black Tortoise Spirit Spring this time, so I'd like to share a spirit spring with you. What do you think? No problem. Qin Haodong agreed without hesitation. He had just thought of the matter with Murong Jinghong and the other girls. Now that all three girls were interested in him, it was indeed not an easy choice to make. Moreover, it was better to squash enmity than to make it worse. As long as Yu Wanren could really let go of that hatred, Qin Haodong would naturally have no objections. It wasn't that he didn't consider what tricks Yu Wanren might play, but he didn't care. He still had many trump cards that he had yet to reveal, so he believed that Yu Wanren wouldn't be able to stir up any waves. After Yu Wanren left Qin Haodong's courtyard, the smile on his face immediately disappeared and was replaced with a gloomy expression. He had taken the initiative to lower his head to Qin Haodong today, so naturally he wouldn't be as simple as Song Junyu. As a veteran student of the Black Tortoise Institution, this wasn't his first time entering the Black Tortoise Spirit Spring. He was very clear about the situation there. The reason why the Black Tortoise Spirit Spring could improve one's cultivation was because the spiritual energy there was extremely dense and fast absorption speed. However, the amount of spiritual energy was also limited, and it was somewhat difficult for two people to use it. Usually there wouldn't be much left in the end, so they had to rest for a year before they could use it again the next year. He had recently obtained a secret technique called the Great Siphon Technique by chance. This technique could increase the speed at which one could absorb spiritual energy by 10 times, and it was perfectly suited to be used in the Black Tortoise Spirit Spring. The reason why he took the initiative to only use one spirit spring with Qin Haodong was so that he could quickly absorb all the spiritual energy, leaving Qin Haodong with no spiritual energy to use. After absorbing enough spiritual energy and breaking through his current realm, he would then find an opportunity to kill Qin Haodong. It was precisely because of this goal that he had come over to lower his head and express goodwill. After dinner, Qin Haodong went to visit the little she-devil again. However, she was still in a deep sleep and showed no signs of waking up. It seemed that she was destined to miss this trip to the Black Tortoise Spirit Spring. Early the next morning, Luo Dongqing gathered all the team members together and read out the rules and matters to take note of during the trip to the Black Tortoise Spirit Spring. Then she allowed everyone to form their own teams of 2. Yu Wanren took the initiative to form a team with Qin Haodong. Seeing this result, Murong Jinghong and the other girls heaved a sigh of relief, finally avoiding the awkward choice. She and Song Junyu formed a team, while Yun Chanqian and Fang Qiong'er formed another team. After all the preparations were completed, Luo Dongqing led the 10 students and flew towards the Black Tortoise Spirit Spring. Chapter 960. The Black Tortoise Spirit Spring was a day's journey from the Black Tortoise Institute and was located in a swamp. The closer Qin Haodong and the others got, the denser the spiritual energy became. In the middle of the swamp was the main spring of the Black Tortoise Spirit Spring, but it was heavily guarded and no one was allowed to enter. Within a radius of 100 miles from the main spring, there were dozens of spirit springs of various sizes, all occupied by other forces in the kingdom. The 5 spirit springs of the Black Tortoise Institute were relatively close and in a good location. In order to prevent them from being used indiscriminately, the institute would station 10 teachers here every year. Since the Black Tortoise Kingdom had already distributed the nearby spirit springs, there were not many conflicts of interest. Stationing here was only a symbolic gesture, and generally speaking there were no disputes. Although the teachers stationed here could not enter the spirit spring to cultivate, the spiritual energy here was more than 10 times denser than in other places. Therefore, being stationed here was a good job, and every year there would be teachers fighting to be on duty here. The closer they got, the denser the spiritual energy became. Most importantly, the spiritual energy here seemed to have a mind of its own, involuntarily drilling into one's pores and absorbing spiritual energy several times faster than using spirit stones. It was Fang Qiong'er's first time here and she couldn't help but sigh, "This place is too comfortable. If I could cultivate here for a long time, my cultivation would definitely advance by leaps and bounds." Tu Jiaojiao said, "Don't even think about it. The resources of the spirit spring are limited, and only a few people can enjoy it." Everyone followed behind Luo Dongqing and landed beside the 5 spirit springs. Seeing Luo Dongqing personally arrive, the teachers stationed here immediately surrounded her, asking about her well-being and then arranging cultivation matters. The distance between the 5 spirit springs was not too far, only about a few dozen meters. Qin Haodong and Yu Wanren were assigned to the most central position, while the other students went to the 4 spirit springs next to them. The water of the spirit spring looked extremely clear, but it was not ordinary water, but spiritual energy droplets condensed from overly dense spiritual energy. The 5 spirit springs were about the same size, about 10 meters in diameter. Qin Haodong stepped into the spring and was instantly surrounded by dense spiritual energy. Compared to the spiritual energy emitted by top-grade spirit stones, the spiritual energy here seemed to be alive and could actively cooperate with one's cultivation, constantly drilling into one's pores and improving one's physique. He sighed in his heart. This was indeed a good place for cultivation, and it seemed that he would most likely be able to break through to the early body integration stage. Yu Wanren sat opposite Qin Haodong, a trace of complacency and cunning flashing in his eyes. Luo Dongqing said, "Everyone pay attention. The absorption time is only 12 hours. After that, we will leave this place. Everyone, cherish the opportunity and make the best use of your time to cultivate." Yu Wanren said guiltily, "Brother Qin, you have to hurry up. My absorption speed is very fast, so you might not be able to get a single strand of spirit qi." Qin Haodong smiled and said, "It doesn't matter. I'm quite fast." Yu Wanren said, "Then let's have a competition. Don't cry if you can't get any spirit qi." Qin Haodong immediately understood why this guy wanted to share a spirit spring with him. He smiled and said, "Sure." Without another word, Yu Wanren closed his eyes and began to circulate the great siphon technique. In a split second, the spiritual energy in the spiritual spring surged into his body at an accelerated rate, as if it was under a tremendous gravitational force. "You do have some skills, but you're still far from being able to compete with me." Qin Haodong smiled and began to circulate the evergreen wood technique to absorb the spirit qi here. According to his cultivation theory, he was like an empty wooden barrel, and he only needed to constantly pour water into it during cultivation. Yu Wanren and the others were different. Even if they used the great siphon technique, they still had to consider the capacity of the barrel. Ordinary people would absorb while raising the height of the barrel, but if they absorbed too quickly, the barrel would explode. Under such circumstances, Qin Haodong's absorption speed was simply indescribable. If Yu Wanren's side was like a small range hood that constantly drew spirit qi into his body, then Qin Haodong's side was like a high-powered water pump that frantically drew spirit qi into his barrel. Yu Wanren felt proud while absorbing the spirit qi. At this rate, he would probably be able to absorb all the spirit qi in the spiritual spring in less than half a day, and Qin Haodong wouldn't even be able to get 1/10 of it. He even imagined Qin Haodong's look of annoyance. However, he suddenly realized that he could not absorb any spirit chi even after circulating the Great Siphon technique to the extreme. What's going on? Could it be that the spirit chi has been absorbed right from the start? That's impossible. I've been here before, and the spirit chi contained in the spiritual spring is enough for me to absorb for a period of time. He opened his eyes only to see a strange scene. The spirit chi in the entire spiritual spring was flowing into Qin Haodong's body like rivers flowing into the sea. No wonder he could not get even a trace of spirit chi here. The suction force on Qin Haodong's side was too strong. If all the spirit chi had been absorbed, how could he possibly absorb it? What kind of cultivation technique is this? Yu Wanren was about to explode from anger. However, Qin Haodong was absorbing him with his own ability. Previously he was talking about competing in speed, so what could he say now? He could only sit down again and circulate his Great Siphon technique with all his might. However, he still could not get much spirit chi. This cultivation speed could not even be compared to that in the Black Tortoise Academy. Compared to Qin Haodong's astonishing speed, it was as if he was drinking water with a straw, while Qin Haodong was pumping water with a high-powered water pump. The difference was hundreds of times. Yu Wanren opened his eyes again. After seeing the spirit chi being absorbed into his body like rivers flowing into the sea, Qin Haodong's aura grew stronger and stronger. He was about to complete his breakthrough. This kid actually wants to make a breakthrough here. An ominous glint flashed across his eyes. It seemed like this was a good time for revenge. With a thought, a dagger appeared in his palm. Just as he was about to make his move, a figure suddenly flashed. Luo Dongqing had arrived beside the spiritual spring. It was impossible for Qin Haodong to not attract his attention after causing such a huge commotion. Not only had Luo Dongqing come over, but even the teachers and other cultivating students who were guarding the place had gathered over. With so many people around, Yu Wanren would not foolishly make a move. He put the dagger in his hand back into his storage ring and put on an equally shocked expression. A teacher who was stationed beside the spiritual spring said to Luo Dongqing, "Dean, is this a student of our academy? He's simply a monster. I've never seen anyone who can absorb spirit chi so quickly." Luo Dongqing was also quite surprised. He sighed and said, "You're right. This kid is a monster." Seeing that Qin Haodong's aura was getting stronger and stronger, Murong Jinghong said, "Dean, is he about to make a breakthrough?" Luo Dongqing said, "It looks like it's going to happen soon." "Oh no, Dean. Look, the spiritual spring is about to run dry." Everyone's attention had been focused on Qin Haodong and neglected the water in the spiritual spring. Only now did they realize that the water, which was originally more than a meter deep, was now only as deep as a palm, and the spirit chi was extremely thin. Qin Haodong crazily absorbed the spirit chi in the spiritual spring in just a short while, and there was not the slightest bit of spirit chi left in the spiritual spring. Yu Wanren's face was livid. At this moment he felt like crying. If he had known that he would encounter such a freak, he would never have shared a spiritual spring with him. Now, not only did he not take advantage of it, but he had also wasted this rare opportunity. Qin Haodong was about to make a breakthrough, but he suddenly felt the surrounding spirit chi drop rapidly. In the end, he still did not cross the threshold of the form synthesis stage. He opened his eyes and first saw the dried spiritual spring, and then he saw the dumbfounded people around him. He slowly realized what had happened. Fang Qiong asked, "Senior brother, have you made a breakthrough?" Qin Haodong said a little awkwardly, "Not yet. I've used up the spirit chi in the spiritual spring. I'm only a little bit away." Yun Qianshan said, "Use ours. Sister Qiong and I have just made a breakthrough anyway. It will be difficult for us to make another breakthrough even if we absorb more spirit chi." Qin Haodong said with some embarrassment, "No way." Fang Qiong pulled him over and said, "Why not? This is a rare opportunity. Let's hurry up and go." As she spoke, she and Yun Shanshan pulled Qin Haodong into their spiritual spring, one on the left and the other on the right. The two of them were full of gratitude towards Qin Haodong. If it were not for Qin Haodong's help, they would not have reached the peak of the void training stage even if they used the spiritual spring here. More importantly, they were not only grateful, but also willing to make some sacrifices for the man in front of them. Qin Haodong no longer stood on ceremony. He sat cross-legged in the spiritual spring and began to absorb spirit chi to make a breakthrough. In an instant he was like a motor that had been restarted, and the spirit chi in the spiritual spring rushed into his body again. With the assurance of sufficient spiritual chi, his momentum became stronger and stronger. About 50 minutes later, a crisp sound suddenly came from his body, and he broke through the bottleneck of the form synthesis stage. When he opened his eyes again, half of the spiritual chi in the spirit spring had been extracted, and his cultivation base had officially entered the body integration stage. He walked out of the spirit spring and said to Fang Qiong and Fang Qiong, thank you. Fang Qiong said, this is nothing. If you need more, you can absorb the rest. Qin Haodong shook his head. I don't need it. You guys can use it. His cultivation was growing in a completely nature-defying manner. The further he progressed, the more spiritual energy he needed. Now, even if he completely absorbed the remaining 3.5 spirit springs, he most likely would not be able to break through again. It was better to leave it for the two girls. Then he turned to look at Yu Wanren and said with a teasing expression, I'm sorry, I absorbed your spiritual energy too quickly. They're all gone. Yu Wanren felt that his lungs were about to explode from anger, but he could not say anything. Looking at his extremely ugly expression, Qin Haodong smiled again and said, we have a deal. You can't cry if you lose. Yu Wanren snorted coldly and turned his head away. He had no more spirit chi to use at the moment, so he could only find a rock to sit on. Luo Dongqing said to the other students, don't be affected, everyone. Make the best use of your time to cultivate. The other students had seen enough. Envious of Qin Haodong's cultivation base, they all returned to their own spirit springs to absorb the spirit chi. But at this moment, a ghostly wail was heard, there's no need to cultivate anymore. You're all going to die, so why waste spirit chi? Luo Dongqing's expression changed. He turned his head and saw a man in black with a golden mask standing behind him, followed by dozens of ghost slaves in black. They were from the Ghost King sect and their cultivation base was not low. The golden-masked man in the lead had even reached the great vehicle stage, which made him nervous immediately. Chapter 961. Luo Dongqing's eyes fell on a golden skull on the sleeve of the golden-masked man. Then she asked, I didn't expect you to be the great elder of the Ghost King sect. What are you doing in my Black Tortoise Kingdom? Under the golden mask there was a burst of laughter. Do you still need to ask? Of course, to send you guys to hell. Luo Dongqing's face suddenly changed. Although you are the great elder of the Ghost King sect, our Black Tortoise Academy is not easy to bully. If you really annoy the dean of our academy, then he will destroy your Ghost King sect. Hearing this, Qin Haodong was confused. Since he came to the Black Tortoise Academy, Ouyang Lan was in charge of the South Academy, and Luo Dongqing was in charge of the North Academy. However, both of them were the vice deans of the Black Tortoise Academy. Do you mean the old ghost Tong Haichuan? He hasn't shown up for 10 years. Maybe the grass on his grave has grown high. How dare you use him to scare me? It's ridiculous. The great elder of the Ghost King sect continued, to be honest, we didn't want to provoke your Black Tortoise Academy. But look at what your academy has done recently. That boy surnamed Qin first killed our 12 ghost slaves, then he killed Lord Ghost King's ghost concubine Zhong Xiaodai, and killed our Ghost King sect's 9th elder in Pegasus City. He has caused such a big loss to our Ghost King sect. Shouldn't we settle the score with you? Luo Dongqing said, your Ghost King sect asked for it. They attacked our students first. He now knew the bitterness in his heart. The Ghost King sect and the Black Tortoise Academy were originally enemies, but recently the most powerful dean, Tong Haichuan, disappeared. The current situation was that the strength of the two sides was not too different. Once a fight broke out, his students would inevitably suffer heavy losses, so he tried to avoid a head-on conflict as much as possible. It's ridiculous to reason with the people of the Ghost King sect. Only the Ghost King sect can kill people, but no one can hurt the people of the Ghost King sect. The great elder said rudely, if you don't want to lose too many people, then give me that kid Qin directly, and today's matter will be over. Luo Dongqing said angrily, in your dreams. Do you really think our Black Tortoise Academy is afraid of you? Aren't you afraid? The Ghost King sect great elder once again laughed. If Tong Haichuan was here, your Black Tortoise Academy would still have some confidence, but unfortunately he is missing now. Just based on you, this henpecked fellow, what qualifications do you have to go against our Ghost King sect? So I advise you to hand Qin Haodong over to me, or all of you will die. At this time a teacher next to him said, Dean, let's fight with them. Luo Dongqing shouted, our Black Tortoise Academy has been established for 1,000 years, there has never been a precedent of handing over our students, if you want to fight then fight, even if our Black Tortoise Academy bleeds to the last drop of blood, we will not yield to your Ghost King sect. Qin Haodong couldn't help but feel excited when he saw the old man, who was usually a little unruly, but still had a backbone at the critical moment. The other students also shared the same hatred, and their eyes were shining with a burning light. "Old man Luo, since you're acting tough in front of me, then go to hell." After the Ghost King sect Great Elder finished speaking, he waved his hand to the ghost slaves behind him and said, "Do it, leave no one alive." After that, the Black Chi suddenly rose, like a devil from hell, and stretched out a black ghost claw to grab Luo Dongqing. The ghost claw with the ghost chi had turned into a huge ghost claw when it came to Luo Dongqing, as if it could pinch people to death with 2 fingers. Nether Ghost Claw. Qin Haodong had seen Zhong Xiaodai use this move, but the power was far less than that of the Ghost King sect Great Elder. "Get out of here." Luo Dongqing shouted angrily, raised his hand and punched. As a master of Deshang stage, his punch seemed ordinary, but it carried boundless power. As soon as he punched, the wind swept into a huge dragon and fiercely rushed to the Nether Ghost Claw. The huge dragon collided with the Nether Ghost Claw, and after a loud bang, it turned into a boundless chi, causing the surrounding people to retreat one after another. Luo Dongqing blocked the move of the Ghost King sect Great Elder, but involuntarily took 2 steps back. Obviously, he had just entered the Deshang stage and his cultivation was a little weaker than his opponent. The Ghost King sect Great Elder's eyes flashed with a touch of surprise. "I didn't expect you to break through to the Deshang stage, old man. It seems that you're not completely a coward who is afraid of his wife." "Stop talking nonsense, watch my fist," Luo Dongqing said and punched again. He knew that he had to entangle the guy in front of him, and he couldn't let him attack his students, otherwise it would be a disaster. The 2 masters of Deshang stage were fighting here, and the others were also fighting on the side. On the side of Black Tortoise School, the 10 teachers stationed here had reached the form synthesis stage, plus Qin Haodong, Tu Jiaojiao, Murong Jinghong, and Yuan Jian. There were a total of 14 masters of the form synthesis stage. But this time the Ghost King sect sent out high-level ghost slaves, half of which had reached the form synthesis stage, so the strength of the 2 sides was equal. For a time they were evenly matched and in a stalemate. Qin Haodong knew that it was not the time to be polite. He called out the Xianyuan sword and slashed at a ghost slave in front of him. This ghost slave was at the early stage of form synthesis, the same cultivation as Qin Haodong. He waved the ghost blade in his hand to meet Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong's cultivation was originally invincible at the same level, plus the sharpness of the Xianyuan sword. This ghost slave couldn't resist at all. As soon as he attacked, he was cut in half with the blade. As soon as he killed this opponent, a whistling sound came, and a sharp ghost blade slashed at his neck. It was a silver-masked man at the middle stage of form synthesis. He dodged the blade in a flash, but at this time, another ghost slave wearing a silver mask came from behind and attacked him together with the man in front of him. Qin Haodong had an absolute advantage when facing an early stage of form synthesis, and he could barely cope with a middle stage of form synthesis, but if he faced 2 middle stage experts at the same time, it would be a little difficult. At this time a scream came from the side. Murong Jinghong's arm was cut by a ghost slave's ghost blade, and a line of blood was cut. Although she was also at the early stage of form synthesis, compared with Qin Haodong's strength she was much weaker. Seeing that the situation was critical, Qin Haodong no longer cared too much. He raised his hand and put a big yuan explosion pill into his mouth, and instantly broke through to the peak of form synthesis. As his cultivation improved, the power of the yuan explosion pill became less and less, and it couldn't break through the bottleneck of the great vehicle stage. But this was enough. After his cultivation reached the peak of form synthesis, Qin Haodong instantly turned into a killing god. With a flash of golden light in his hand, the 2 middle stage ghost slaves in front of him were instantly cut into 4 pieces. Murong Jinghong was facing an expert at the middle stage of form synthesis. Under the suppression of their cultivation, she kept retreating, and her body was cut by the ghost blade again. However, she was completely suppressed by her opponent, and a slight distraction would cost her her life. She didn't even have time to eat the yuan explosion pill. At this time, the ghost slave's ghost blade slashed at her head again. Murong Jinghong hurriedly waved her startling sword to meet it. But she didn't expect that it was just a feint. The ghost slave knew the power of the startling sword. After a feint, the ghost blade instantly changed direction and slashed at her chest. Ah! Murong Jinghong let out a scream. She was already flustered, and it was too late for her to withdraw her sword to defend. Just as she was about to die, a golden light flashed at the critical moment. Then with a clatter the ghost dragon's arm and the ghost blade fell to the ground. After killing the ghost slave, Qin Haodong came to Murong Jinghong and asked, "How are you? Are you okay?" Murong Jinghong had just passed by the gate of death, and she still had some lingering fear at this moment. She patted her chest and said, Thank you, I'm fine. The situation is critical. Take the Yuan explosion pill quickly. After saying that, Qin Haodong waved his sword and rushed to Fang Qiong'er. Without hesitation, Murong Jinghong raised her hand and put the Yuan explosion pill into her mouth. Her cultivation instantly increased to the peak of form synthesis. Then she waved her startling sword and stabbed at another ghost slave next to her. Then the girls took the Yuan explosion pill one after another, and their cultivation increased to the peak of form synthesis. The strength of both sides began to change greatly. Under the leadership of Qin Haodong, the people of Black Tortoise Academy began to kill the ghost slaves as if they were cutting melons and vegetables. After a while, more than a dozen ghost slaves were killed. The 10 teachers stationed here were dumbfounded. Since when did their academy students become so heaven-defying? The situation on their side was reversed, but Luo Dongqing's situation was not optimistic. Although he was also at the Deshang stage, his cultivation was still a little bit lower than that of the first elder of Ghost King sect. He was always in a state of suppression, and could only barely entangle the opponent. Seeing that his subordinates were getting fewer and fewer and died in the hands of the students of Black Tortoise Academy, a cold light flashed in the first elder's eyes. He hit his palms continuously, and dozens of huge ghost claws surrounded Luo Dongqing. Luo Dongqing ran all the strength in her body and punched out, barely resolving this wave of attacks, and finally collided with the first elder's palms with a bang. In the past, when they fought head-on, the first elder was always at a disadvantage, but this time it was completely different. The first elder of Ghost King sect was shocked by this punch and flew backward. What's going on? Before Luo Dongqing could figure out the situation, the first elder of Ghost King sect had come to Qin Haodong's side with the force of the counterforce, and reached out to grab Qin Haodong's neck. Qin Haodong was shocked. He did not expect that the first elder of Ghost King sect would suddenly come to his side. This was the first time that he faced a master at the Deshang stage. Before he could make a move, his body was suppressed by the opponent's momentum, and there was no possibility to dodge. In desperation, he could only desperately urge the green with genuine qi, and wanted to fight head-on with the opponent and win the opportunity for Luo Dongqing to rescue him. Unexpectedly, at this moment, there was a sense of weakness in his body, and the effect of the Big Yuan Burst pill was over. What the hell, it's over? Seeing that the palm of the first elder of Ghost King sect was getting closer and closer, Qin Haodong had no ability to resist. Let go of me. Luo Dongqing, who came back to her senses, roared and rushed to rescue Qin Haodong, but it was too late. Fortunately, the first elder of Ghost King sect did not kill Qin Haodong. He just knocked Qin Haodong out with one finger and then grabbed his belt and galloped away. As soon as he left, the rest of the ghost slaves did not continue to fight and disappeared in an instant. Chapter 962. Stop right there. Seeing Qin Haodong being taken away, Luo Dongqing was furious and chased after the Ghost King sect's Grand Elder. Old Luo, how dare you come after me? Aren't you afraid that my people will come back and kill all your students? Well, Luo Dongqing hesitated despite knowing that the other party was threatening him. There were still 10 teachers and 9 students at the Black Tortoise Spiritual Spring. Murong Jinghong and the others had just taken the Grand Yuan Elixir and were in a weak state. If the Ghost King sect came back, it would be a big problem. Masters at the Mahayana stage were extremely fast. While he was hesitating, the Ghost King sect's Grand Elder had already disappeared with Qin Haodong. Luo Dongqing had no choice but to return to the Black Tortoise Spiritual Spring. Seeing him return alone, Murong Jinghong asked anxiously, "Headmaster, where is Qin Haodong?" Luo Dongqing said with a chagrined expression, "He was taken away." Fang Qiong'er said anxiously, "Headmaster, we must find a way to save him. He has such a deep grudge against the Ghost King sect. That person will definitely kill him." Yun Qianshan said anxiously, "I'll go save him now." Then she wanted to fly up, but her legs gave way and she fell to the ground. She had just taken the Grand Yuan Elixir and did not even have the strength to fly. The others were also anxious when they heard the news, especially the women who were on good terms with Qin Haodong. Only Yu Wanren's eyes flashed with a hint of schadenfreude. He could not wait for the Ghost King sect to kill this monster and avenge his brothers. In contrast, Tu Jiaojiao was calmer. She said, "Don't worry everyone. I guess the Ghost King sect doesn't want to kill Qin Haodong. If they wanted to, they would have done it directly. There's no need to take him back." Hearing her words, the others slowly calmed down. Indeed, with the Ghost King sect's Grand Elder's strength, he could have killed Qin Haodong with a slap. There was no need to take him back. Fang Qiong'er said, "But why did he take senior brother?" Tu Jiaojiao said, "I'm not sure, but I'm sure that his life will not be in danger for the time being. Luo Dongqing said, "Don't worry everyone. Take the time to cultivate. Only when you have enough strength can you save people. I will immediately send a message back to the Black Tortoise Institute and let the Institute contact the Black Tortoise Kingdom to search for traces of the Ghost King sect. Once we find out where they are hiding, we will immediately rescue them." He said these words mainly to comfort the students present. With his understanding of the Ghost King sect, these people's movements were extremely secretive. To find traces of them was even more difficult than ascending to heaven. But now that things had come to this, he could only use this method that wasn't really a solution. Qin Haodong slowly opened his eyes. He didn't know how long he had been in a coma. However, the Junqi in his body had already completely recovered, and the period of weakness caused by using the Great Yuan Burst Pill had already passed. From the looks of it, it must have been quite some time. After looking around, he discovered that this was a bamboo house and it was built on top of a mountain. Looking out through the window, the sun was bright and beautiful, and the clouds and mist lingered around. This was a beautiful place. It was a pity that he wasn't familiar with Black Tortoise Kingdom and had no idea where he was. Beside him, the Ghost King sect Great Elder was still wearing the golden mask, his hands behind his back as if admiring the scenery outside the window. Qin Haodong moved his somewhat stiff limbs, and found that the Junqi in his body was abundant, without any restrictions. It seemed that the person in front of him had enough confidence to control him, so he didn't bother to seal his acupoints. "Kid, don't have any messy thoughts or else I'll crush you to death as easily as crushing an ant." While speaking, the Great Elder of the Ghost King sect slowly turned his head. The pair of eyes under the mask revealed a cold, murderous intent. Qin Haodong wasn't nervous about this. If this person wanted to kill him, he would have done it long ago. There was no need to wait until now. Since he didn't kill him, the other party must have some ulterior motives, and before he achieved his goal, he wouldn't do anything to him. He stretched his back and a faint fragrance entered his nostrils. He sniffed and looked at the figure under the black robe. "I really didn't expect that the Great Elder of the Ghost King sect is actually a woman." Seeing that the other party didn't take him seriously at all, the Great Elder said angrily, "Kid, do you believe that I won't kill you right now?" Qin Haodong said with a smile, "I really don't believe that. If you wanted to kill me, you would have done it long ago. There is no need to go through so much trouble to get me here. If I'm not wrong, you must have other ideas. Tell me, do you want to rob me of money or sex? If you want to rob me of money, I am a poor man. If you want to rape me, take off your mask and let me see what you look like. If you are too ugly, I won't consider it. Kid, you are provoking me." The Great Elder's momentum suddenly erupted, and his sharp eyes looked at Qin Haodong like a knife. Unfortunately, after a long time, the young man's eyes were still calm and firm, without any intention of compromise. Slowly, the Great Elder withdrew his momentum and said, "Kid, I didn't see that you have some courage." Qin Haodong smiled, "If I am too timid, how can I negotiate with you later?" He knew that the Great Elder had a purpose to catch him. If he behaved too timidly, he would be tightly controlled by the Great Elder, and there would be no chance of escape. Not bad. No wonder old Nine and the others died at your hands. At this moment, the Great Elder's voice was no longer hoarse, instead becoming incomparably charming. Perhaps this was her original voice. Qin Haodong said, "Your voice is also good, but I don't know if it's because you're too ugly. You always cover your face with a mask. Kid, don't forget your current status. Don't challenge my bottom line." Qin Haodong spread his hands and said, "Well, it has nothing to do with me whether you're beautiful or ugly. Tell me, what do you want me to do after you've tried so hard to catch me?" The first elder said, "As long as you agree to 2 conditions of our Ghost King sect, not only can we let you go, but we can also give you a large sum of wealth, money and beauties. You can choose whatever you want." Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Can I choose you? Brat, I'm warning you one last time. If you challenge my bottom line again, even if I don't kill you, I'll cut off a part of your body, cripple your cultivation, and send you to the palace to become a eunuch." After that, the first elder's eyes were fixed on Qin Haodong. He glanced at her. Qin Haodong was immediately pinched. He quickly said, "It's just a joke. Since you don't like it, we won't do it. Let's get down to business. Now let's get down to business. Tell me your 2 conditions." The first elder said, "First, hand over the method you used to quickly improve your cultivation." Qin Haodong said, "I think you've made a mistake. Cultivation has never been done overnight. How can I have a quick way?" "Brat, you still won't tell the truth at this time?" The first elder said, "We've specially investigated your information during this period. When you first entered the Black Tortoise Academy, Your cultivation was only at the late stage of soul transformation. Then you jumped a stage in a few days. Now it's only been more than a month, and you've already reached the early stage of body integration. Do you know how long it takes for ordinary people to cultivate from the late stage of soul transformation to the early stage of body integration? It takes at least more than 10 years. Even with abundant cultivation resources, it takes at least a few years. But you only used more than a month. Now you're telling me that there's no quick method. Do you think I can believe it? Well, Qin Haodong didn't know how to answer for a moment. No wonder the Ghost King sect had been quiet recently. It turned out that they had been investigating him. He said, "In this case I'll tell you the truth. My cultivation method is only suitable for me, and it's a secret method of my sect. You can't learn it. Maybe you'll be possessed by the devil and lose your cultivation." The first elder thought for a moment and said, "Let's put this aside for now. Now let's talk about the second condition. I heard that you're a good alchemist. You can even refine 7th grade elixirs. As long as you give us 100 dragon power elixirs and 1000 void breaking elixirs, we can also set you free. You want so many elixirs? Why don't you rob them?" Of course, Qin Haodong wouldn't agree to her condition. Now the Ghost King sect was strong enough. The first elder had reached the Deshang stage. He didn't know how many masters there were behind him. If he gave them so many elixirs, the Ghost King sect's strength would be further strengthened. At that time, it would be a disaster for the whole Lingwu continent. Isn't this robbery? The first elder looked at him with burning eyes and said, "What do you think? Do you think there's anything between us? If you're sure there's nothing to talk about, I'll kill you now." "Talk, of course we can talk." Qin Haodong still wanted to return to Earth to see his wife. No matter if the other party wanted to kill him or cut off a certain part of his body, it was not what he wanted after all. "Well, since you want to talk, show some sincerity. Do you want to hand over the cultivation method or refine elixirs for us? I'm not in a hurry. Can you let me go to the toilet first?" Qin Haodong covered his legs with his hands. Then he pretended to be in a hurry and said, "I haven't gone to the toilet for a long time, and I soaked in the spiritual spring for so long. We can talk about the conditions, but can you let me go first?" "Yes." She grabbed Qin Haodong's collar and took him outside the bamboo building in an instant. She pointed to a mountain rock and said, "Let's solve it here." "Here. How can I do that? I'm a civilized person. Don't you have a toilet or something like that here?" The first elder said in a cold voice, "This is a mountainous area. There's not even a person here. Why are you looking for a toilet?" "But this is not very good," Qin Haodong said. Suddenly, he said with a playful face, "Do you usually solve it here in public?" The first elder was wearing a mask, so her face could not be seen, but there was a flash of anger in her eyes. "Are you going to solve it or not?" "Of course I have to solve it. People have 3 urgent needs. This kind of thing can't wait." Qin Haodong untied his belt and said, "Elder sister, can you turn around? I can't pee in front of a woman." "Boy, don't try to play tricks with me or I'll destroy you." The first elder turned around after saying that. After all, she was not used to watching a man pee. Moreover, she had enough confidence in her heart. Although she turned around, her breath had been locked on Qin Haodong. In front of her, no matter what, this man could not escape. Shortly after she turned around, there was a sound of water behind her. She naturally knew what the sound meant and involuntarily took 2 steps forward. Suddenly, she found that Qin Haodong had disappeared from her breath. The first elder could no longer care about it. She suddenly turned around, only to find that there was no one in the place where Qin Haodong had just stood, except for a pool of water. Chapter 963. Where is he? Where did that brat go? The great elder couldn't figure out how this kid managed to escape right under his nose. She leaped into the air and stood 100 meters above the ground. Her powerful aura enveloped the entire mountain as she searched with her divine sense. But after searching for a long time, the mountain was still quiet. Other than the chirping of some birds, there was no other movement, and she could not find Qin Haodong's shadow. "Bastard, I'm so angry." The furious great elder struck out with her palm, turning a huge boulder that weighed tens of tons into powder. Smoke and dust rose in an instant. Inside the 7th-stage pagoda, Qin Haodong heaved a sigh of relief. He had finally escaped from the old woman's clutches. However, the 7th-stage pagoda was good, but it had a flaw. He had to exit from the same place he entered. He did not know if the Ghost King sect's great elder would continue guarding there. If he was caught again, he would be in big trouble. So he could only calm down and cultivate here. The spiritual energy on the 7th level of the pagoda was dense, and the effects of cultivation were excellent. He cultivated here for a whole 7 days before he slowly opened his eyes. He felt the surging true qi in his body. If he continued to cultivate here, he would be able to break through to the middle stage of the body integration stage in a few years. But he could not wait any longer. These 7 days were the limit of his patience. He had to go out and see what was going on. He took out some food from his storage ring and ate his fill. Then he tried to summon the 3-legged golden toad. This big fellow had lost a lot of blood after being shot by the god-killing arrow in the Sunset Mountains. Its vitality was slightly damaged and it had been in a deep sleep. That was why it could not come out to help in the battle at the Black Tortoise Spiritual Spring. After summoning it twice, there was still no response from the spiritual beast pouch. The 3-legged golden toad was still in a deep sleep. It seemed like he could only go out alone. With a thought, he exited the 7-stage pagoda. It was night time and the bright moon was hanging in the sky. The bright moonlight illuminated the entire mountain range. The surroundings were quiet and peaceful. Luckily, it seems like the old woman has left. Qin Haodong heaved a sigh of relief. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly felt his back go numb. Someone had sealed his acupuncture point and tied him up tightly with a rope. "Kid, I have really underestimated you. You have quite a few tricks." With a charming voice, the great elder appeared in front of him with a golden mask. Qin Haodong said with annoyance, "You've been waiting here for so many days? Don't you feel bored? What's so boring about waiting to catch a mouse?" Although the great elder was wearing a mask, a hint of a smile flashed in his eyes. "I knew that no one could escape from my eyes. Although you suddenly disappeared, you must still be here. You just used some trick to hide yourself." Qin Haodong sighed and said helplessly, "You win. Looks like I've still underestimated the patience of these old freaks. If I had known earlier, I would have cultivated in the Buddha's pagoda for a period of time." The great elder grabbed him by the collar and looked him straight in the eyes. "Boy, do you think we can talk about the conditions now?" Qin Haodong said, "I'm a captive now. Do I have the right to object?" "Good that you know." The great elder said, "In addition to the 2 conditions I mentioned before, I will add one more. Tell me how you became invisible just now." Qin Haodong said, "Actually, it's just a method. Let me go and I will show you." Not only was his acupoint sealed, but he was also tightly tied up. The other end of the rope was in the great elder's hand. Even if he wanted to use the 7th-stage pagoda, he could not escape. Now he could only think of a way to divert the great elder's attention and then find a chance to escape. "Little guy, do you really think I'm a child?" The great elder changed his tone and said coldly, "This is the last chance I'm giving you. Tell me now or you will regret it." Qin Haodong looked calm on the surface, but he was actually extremely anxious. The 3 conditions that this guy had proposed, apart from alchemy, were all his deepest secrets. How could he tell the great elder? "Let go of my rope first or I won't be able to tell you." "Stop dreaming. Do you really think I don't dare to kill you?" the great elder said as a strong murderous aura erupted from his body. However, Qin Haodong was unmoved. He knew very well that if he revealed all his secrets, this guy would definitely kill him and snatch the 7th-stage pagoda. Now that things had come to this, he could only take a risk and said, "You spent so much effort but got nothing from me. I guess you can't bear to kill me?" The great elder looked at him coldly. After a long silence, he gritted his teeth and said, "Kid, don't think that I can't do anything to you if you don't tell me. Now, I will let you taste the power of the Ghost King sect's mind reading." So many of her subordinates had died this time and she had been tormented for so many days. If she could not get anything out of him, she would not give up. Mind reading? Qin Haodong's heart skipped a beat. Although he had never come into contact with this kind of technique, he could tell from the name that it was similar to the mind-manipulating technique. They were both mental techniques. However, all mental techniques had a drawback. That was, the opponent's mental strength must not be as strong as yours. Otherwise they would suffer a backlash. Although the consequences were different, it would definitely not be good. Moreover, the primordial spirit in his sea of consciousness was much stronger than that of an ordinary cultivator. As long as the opponent used the mind-reading technique, his chance would come. He was happy in his heart, but on the surface he revealed a somewhat timid expression. "I'm telling you, don't mess around. If your mind-reading technique makes me stupid, you won't get anything. No matter what, you are still a martial artist at the form synthesis stage. You won't be so weak." The great elder did indeed see him as an ordinary martial artist at the form synthesis stage. He did not even consider that his mental strength was not as strong as his opponent's, nor did he think that he would suffer a backlash. Normally, There was a huge difference between the early form synthesis stage and the early Mahayana stage. Their mental strength was even more different. It was impossible for there to be a backlash. However, he did not know that Qin Haodong was not an ordinary person. His primordial spirit was even stronger than that of a Mahayana stage cultivator. Please don't do this. Can we discuss it again? I will refine pills for you. You can refine as many pills as you want, but the other two are my secrets. I can't tell you. You don't need to say it now. The great elder grabbed Qin Haodong's collar, and a brilliant light flashed in his eyes. The invisible mental strength violently entered his mud pill palace and attacked the depths of his sea of consciousness. Qin Haodong's eyes flashed with joy. His strength was not as good as his opponent. The only thing that was stronger than his opponent was his mental strength. The great elder's mind-reading technique entered Qin Haodong's sea of consciousness and wanted to dig out all his secrets. However, as soon as her mental power entered, an overwhelming pressure suddenly assaulted her, and an incomparably powerful mental power surrounded her. What's going on? How can his mental strength be so strong? The great elder was shocked. She never dreamed that a cultivator at the form synthesis stage would have a much stronger mental strength than her. Thinking of the consequences of the backlash, she quickly withdrew her mental strength and wanted to escape from the sea of consciousness. But it was too late. This was originally Qin Haodong's home field. In addition, his primordial spirit was stronger than his opponent's. In an instant, the great elder's mental strength was wrapped. The great elder was anxious. If her mental strength stayed here, the body outside would become an empty shell. Of course, this was not the result she wanted. She organized her mental strength and rushed out crazily. The two powerful mental strengths collided with each other, making an earth-shattering collision sound. Although Qin Haodong had the primordial spirit of a cultivator at the crossing calamity stage, it was not complete. It was only a remnant part. So even though his mental strength was stronger than the great elders, it did not reach the level of absolute suppression. If he forcibly destroyed the great elder's mental strength, he would also be seriously injured. So after comprehensive consideration, he finally opened a gap and let the great elder's mental strength escape. Even so, his primordial spirit was still damaged to a certain extent. After all, the mental strength of a cultivator at the Deshang stage was also extremely powerful, much more powerful than that of Hu Shaoxian. The great elder's loss was more serious than his. Almost half of her mental strength disappeared, and only the other half escaped. Qin Haodong finally breathed a sigh of relief. Although his primordial spirit was damaged, he finally saved his life. He slowly opened his eyes and looked at the great elder on the opposite side. He saw the great elder fell to the ground on her back. Although she was still breathing, she was in a coma. It seemed that her loss was more serious. For the time being, he was finally out of danger. He ran the qi in his body crazily, trying to break open the great elder's sealed acupoints. Unfortunately, the great elder was a master at the Deshang stage. In order to prevent him from escaping, she used an extremely special acupoint sealing method. So he tried for a long time, but there was still no result. He tried to summon the three-legged golden toad. As long as this guy could be summoned, it could immediately untie the rope on his body, take him to a safe place and slowly open the acupoints on his body. The result was the same as before. The three-legged golden toad was still asleep and did not respond. Just then a wolf howl came from the night. What the hell, I can't be so unlucky, can I? Now one of them is in a coma, and the other's acupoints are sealed. If the wolf comes, it will be really troublesome. Maybe they will become wolf dung. With a wolf howl, 3 gale wolves with gleaming eyes appeared on the top of the mountain. My God, it turned out to be such powerful magical beasts. Are they going to let us live? Seeing the bloodthirsty gleam in the eyes of the gale wolves, Qin Haodong hurriedly shouted, wake up, the wolves are coming. He wanted to kick the great elder up. Although the consequences of being in the hands of the Ghost King sect were not much better, it was better than being fed to the wolves. Unfortunately, other than his mouth, he couldn't move anywhere else. The great elder did not respond. He tried to summon the three-legged golden toad again, but there was still no response. Although the gale wolves were magical beasts, they were as cunning as the wolves on earth. They approached little by little, as if trying to distinguish whether the two creatures in front of them were dangerous. Seeing the 3 gale wolves getting closer and closer, they could even feel the smell of blood on them. Seeming to feel that the two people in front of it were not dangerous, a bloodthirsty gleam flashed in the eyes of a gale wolf. Then with a howl, it pounced on the great elder, its sharp teeth biting her throat. Qin Haodong's heart instantly jumped. Although the two were enemies, the great elder was his last hope. If she was bitten to death by the gale wolves, he could only be fed to the wolves. Chapter 964. At this critical moment, the unconscious first elder suddenly sat up. She raised her hand and waved. The powerful chi smashed the gale wolf into a pile of meat. The other two gale wolves sensed her power and immediately fled into the forest like frightened birds. The first elder flicked 2 fingers in succession. The sharp sword directly pierced through the bodies of the 2 gale wolves and they fell into the bushes. Qin Haodong finally breathed a sigh of relief. He finally escaped the fate of becoming wolf dung. However, looking at the first elder who stood up, he immediately became nervous. Judging from her performance just now, the woman's cultivation was not affected much. He didn't know how she would treat him next. The first elder stood up and didn't face Qin Haodong directly. She looked around blankly and then murmured, "Who am I? Where am I?" They were not far from each other, so Qin Haodong heard her clearly. He secretly rejoiced. It seemed that the spiritual collision just now had caused great damage to this woman. Her brain was damaged. It was easy to deal with her amnesia. She wouldn't think about how to torture him. Now, the urgent task was to find a way to let her untie his acupoints and the rope on his body. Who am I? Who am I? The first elder, who had lost her memory, looked extremely painful and anxious. She reached out to pull off the mask on her face and threw it into the valley next to her. After seeing the woman's face clearly, Qin Haodong was slightly stunned. He originally thought that the first elder of the Ghost King sect was an old and ugly woman. He didn't expect her to be very young, only about 30 years old. Moreover, she was extremely beautiful. In terms of appearance, she was no less beautiful than Murong Jinghong and the other women. Such a beautiful woman, why would she use such an ugly mask to cover her face? He really didn't understand. At this time, the first elder saw Qin Haodong next to her and asked, "Who are you? Who am I?" This? Qin Haodong hesitated for a moment. He needed her to untie his acupoints, so he had to establish a relationship with her. He said, "Suihua, you forgot that I am your husband. Hurry up and untie the rope and acupoints for me." "Suihua, you said my name is Suihua?" The first elder said, "Are you really my husband? You're not lying to me, right?" After confirming that she had completely lost her memory, Qin Haodong said without any psychological burden, "Why would I lie to you? You are my wife, Niu Tsuehua, and I am your husband, Qin Haodong." Qin Haodong. The great elder put on an expression of deep thought and then said, "I have an impression of this name. You are not lying to me." Qin Haodong breathed a sigh of relief. It was estimated that he was the person whom the first elder hated the most, but hatred could also deepen the impression. She still had some impression of him in her mind. The great elder asked, "Then why are we here and who tied you up?" Qin Haodong said, "Let me go and then I'll tell you." "All right." The great elder stepped forward and tore off the ropes on his body, then unsealed his acupoints. "Husband, why is the technique that sealed your acupoints exactly the same as mine? What's going on?" Qin Haodong moved his hands and feet to unblock his stiff qi and blood. He had thought of running away immediately, but it seemed impossible for him to run away in the face of a master at the Deshang stage, so it was better to deceive the other party first. He said, "Here's the thing. You were originally called Niu Tsuehua, a young lady from a big family. And I was just a poor boy. We really loved each other, but your family didn't agree and insisted on marrying you to a rich young master. We had no choice but to sneak out, but we were chased by your family. Your brother tied me up and sealed my acupoints. You both learned martial arts from your families, so naturally the technique was the same. As an earthling, he had seen many stories of people despising the poor and loving the rich. It was reasonable to fabricate one casually. So that's how it is." The great elder nodded and said, "Then how did I faint? Your brother sealed my acupoints and wanted to take me back. He knew that I would die if I went back, so you fought with him for 300 rounds in order to protect me. In the end, you and your brother were both injured. He vomited blood and ran away and you fainted on the ground. When the Gale Wolf came just now, I was so worried about you. Fortunately, you woke up in time, otherwise we would really be a pair of Mandarin ducks with the same fate. Oh, husband, I'm really sorry that you suffered so much for me." The great elder's eyes were full of gratitude and then he asked, "You said my name was Niu Tsuehua. Why do I feel that this name is a little strange?" Qin Haodong said seriously, "It's nothing. Suihua is such a beautiful name. It's high-end and elegant. Only the young ladies of rich families dare to call themselves Tsuehua. As long as you like it." The great elder looked at Qin Haodong with eyes full of love. which made his scalp tingle. "Wife, I'm a little hungry. Can you go and hunt some game? Let's have a good meal." "Okay, wait here. I'll be back soon." The great elder was about to leave when Qin Haodong stopped her and said, "Wait a minute, your clothes are torn. It doesn't look good at all. I'll get you another one." As he spoke, he took out a few sets of clothes prepared by the little demoness from his storage ring and stuffed them into the great elder's hands. He did this for his own consideration. The great elder's clothes were the standard of the Ghost King sect, and there was the great elder's logo on the cuffs. Only by changing the clothes could they not attract other people's attention. "Okay, husband, I'll listen to you." The great elder took off her black robe. She believed in the relationship between the two, so she didn't mean to avoid it at all. After taking off the loose black robe, only a small close-fitting underwear was revealed. Her snow-white skin and curvy figure made Qin Haodong's heart beat faster. This woman was really beautiful. Unfortunately, he didn't dare to have too many thoughts. Who knew when the great elder's head would return to normal? Once she recovered her past memory, this woman would cut him into pieces. Even if she couldn't recover her memory once she met other people from the Ghost King sect, it would be a big trouble. After changing the clothes, the great elder smiled sweetly and said, "How is it?" "Beautiful. Beautiful, really beautiful." Qin Haodong's words were not a lie. The great elder in front of him, Niu Tsuehua, was indeed very beautiful and had a special kind of feminine charm. "Then wait for me, I'll go hunt some wild game." The great elder flew into the air and flew into the forest. When she was far away, Qin Haodong grabbed the black robe and burned it clean. Then he turned around and flew in the opposite direction. His current thought was to run as far as he could. He must not be found by this woman again. He didn't know where he was, so he just kept flying forward. But after a while, an anxious call came from behind. "Husband, where are you?" "I'm coming to save you." It was the great elder's voice. She must have come back from hunting and found him missing. She thought that her non-existent brother had taken him away, so she rushed over to save him. Qin Haodong didn't want to see this woman again. He quickly moved his mind and wanted to teleport back to the 7th-stage pagoda. But then he was shocked to find that he couldn't teleport back to the 7th-stage pagoda. He thought about it. Not only had the great elder been injured and lost her memory, but his primordial spirit had also been damaged. Seeing that the call behind him was getting closer and closer, he saw a small lake in front of him and immediately jumped in, hiding at the bottom of the lake. Not long after he hid, the great elder's figure appeared above the small lake. "Husband, where are you? Tell me quickly, I'll come and save you immediately." The great elder's voice was full of true power. Even under the small lake, he could hear her clearly. She was already on the verge of tears, her heart filled with anxiety. Qin Haodong was touched by the great elder's concern, but he knew very well that this was the result of being tricked. Niu Tsuehua was in a hurry to find her husband's little wife. Once she recovered her memory, she would immediately become a violent tigress and tear him to pieces. He quietly hid at the bottom of the lake. Even when the great elder gradually disappeared into the distance, he didn't immediately come out. Learning from his previous experience, he hid at the bottom of the lake for 3 whole days until he used up his true power. He couldn't hide any longer, so he quietly floated up from a corner. He secretly observed the situation around him. After confirming that it was safe, he immediately soared into the sky and flew into the distance like a shooting star. This time he flew for half a day, but the great elder didn't appear again. He finally let out a long sigh of relief. He had finally escaped from death and escaped from that woman. Now that he was out of danger, what he needed to do was determine his position. After flying for a while, he saw a tall city wall in the distance. He immediately rushed over. The city was very large, even comparable to the second largest city of the Black Tortoise Kingdom, Pegasus City. He found an old farmer farming by the side of the road and asked, "Uncle, I'm a foreign tourist. I encountered bandits and got lost. May I ask where this place is?" The old man raised his head and said, "This is the Vermilion Bird Kingdom's Raging Flame City." Heavens, the Vermilion Bird Kingdom. He was brought here by the great elder. It seemed that he had been unconscious for a long time. When he was at the Black Tortoise Institute, he had studied the 4 kingdoms of the Lingwu continent. Among them, the Azure Dragon Kingdom was the strongest, followed by the White Tiger Kingdom, the Vermilion Bird Kingdom, and the Black Tortoise Kingdom was the smallest and the weakest. The Vermilion Bird Kingdom and the Black Tortoise Kingdom were neighbors. Although the distance wasn't too far, this place should be nearly 1,000,000 miles away from the Black Tortoise capital city. Even a Mahayana stage master would need to fly for 3 days. He didn't expect the Ghost King sect's great elder to be so patient. "Young man, are you going into the city?" Let me tell you, today is the day of the marriage selection for the number one family in Raging Flame City, the He family. I see that you're very handsome, so you should give it a try. If you can really become the He family's son-in-law, then you'll have a meteoric rise. Thank you, uncle. Qin Haodong thanked the old farmer and walked towards Raging Flame City. He had just made the decision to stay in the Vermilion Bird Kingdom for the time being and wouldn't go back for a while. With his current cultivation, he could only rely on the spirit springs of the various kingdoms if he wanted to quickly increase his cultivation. The Black Tortoise Kingdom was too embarrassed to make a move because of Zhao Xingyue, so searching for opportunities in the Vermilion Bird Kingdom wasn't a bad choice. As he walked forward, a red light suddenly flashed by. A small fire-red magical beast landed on his shoulder. The little guy had a large tail and its fur was as smooth as silk. It looked like a white rabbit with a large tail, both cute and beautiful. The little guy looked harmless, so Qin Haodong didn't mind and let it sit on his shoulder. Chapter 965. The rabbit-like magical beast jumped on Qin Haodong's shoulder and kept rubbing his cheek with its furry little head. Qin Haodong thought the little thing was cute, so he held it in his arms. At this time, countless black shadows galloped from afar and surrounded him in an instant. Qin Haodong glanced at them and found that they were all cultivators with high cultivation. Most of them were at the early stage of form synthesis, and the leading old man had reached the middle stage of form synthesis. He had never been to Red Flame City, nor had he seen these people before. He didn't know why they surrounded him. Just as he was running his genuine qi, the old man stepped over and said, "He Zhong, the general manager of the He family, greets you, son-in-law." "He family? Son-in-law?" Qin Haodong listened with a confused face. Although he had just heard the old man talk about the marriage contest, he didn't participate in it or sign up. How did he become a son-in-law? He asked in surprise, "Uncle, have you mistaken me for someone else? This is the first time I've come to Red Flame City. I've never seen you or been to the He family." "No, I haven't." He Zhong said with a smile, "Today is the day of the He family's marriage contest, and you happen to be the son-in-law we've chosen." "You've chosen me? How is that possible?" Qin Haodong said inexplicably, "I haven't seen your lady or received any embroidered ball. How did I become a son-in-law?" He wanted to go back to Earth, so he had no intention of finding a son-in-law at all. He Zhong said, "It's the first time you've come to Red Flame City, so it's not surprising that you don't know our customs. Now I'll explain it to you. Here, every young lady will raise a marriage mouse after they are born. When they grow up, they will release the marriage mouse when it is time to find a husband. The marriage mouse is quite intelligent. The person it chooses is the person the lady wants to marry. The marriage mouse in your arms happened to be raised by the lady of the He family, He Ziwei. It chose you, so you're the son-in-law of the He family. What the hell? Is this a marriage contest?" This strange way of finding a husband was really refreshing. He didn't expect that the little fellow in his arms was here to choose a son-in-law. The marriage mouse seemed to have sensed his emotions. It stretched out its little head and rubbed against his chin as if saying, "I chose you." Qin Haodong said, "Isn't this a little too reckless? What if the marriage mouse chooses someone who is already married, or someone in their 70s or 80s? He Zhong patiently explained, "That doesn't matter. In our Lingwu continent, polygamy is a common phenomenon. It's fine even if you're married." The rat of marriage also had another name, the rat of heaven's will. This little fellow was rather intelligent, and its choice represented the will of heaven. The person it chose was definitely the best husband. "So, son-in-law, please come back with us." This? Qin Haodong was confused. He just wanted to walk around here and had no interest in finding a bride. Besides, he didn't even know what He Ziwei looked like. He didn't know whether she was beautiful or ugly, fat or thin. How could he be randomly selected? Just as he was racking his brains to refuse, a voice came from the side. "Director He, it's too early for you to make a decision. The marriage mouse may not choose this person." Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and saw a young man in white walking in from outside the crowd. The man was about 180 meters tall and held a black folding fan in his hand. He looked like a gentle and refined scholar. However, Qin Haodong clearly saw his cultivation. This guy had reached the early stage of the form synthesis. The He family was the first family in Red Flame City. He Zhong naturally knew this young man. He was Zhuo Wengong, the favorite son of the city lord Zhuo Wang's son. If someone else had stood up and questioned him, He Zhong would have driven him out directly. However, this person in front of him had a special identity. He could only ask patiently, "Child Zhuo, what do you think I did wrong?" The young lady's marriage mouse chose you. Zhuo Wengong waved the folding fan in his hand and said, although the marriage mouse is in that man's arms, it doesn't mean anything. It's very likely that the marriage mouse was caught by him. He's still holding the marriage mouse. He will run away after he lets it go. Qin Haodong couldn't find an excuse to refuse this marriage. After hearing this man's words, he immediately said, this brother is right. I did catch this little thing. I'll let it go now. Then he put the marriage mouse on the ground and said, go, go, go. I don't have any delicious food here. However, the little guy didn't want to leave at all. On the contrary, it jumped on his shoulder again and pressed its cheek tightly against his, looking very intimate. Qin Haodong complained in his heart. What do you want to do? I have a lot of wives. Why don't you choose someone else? He Zhong knew very well what Zhuo Wengong was thinking. This guy liked the young lady of his family, but the He family didn't agree with this marriage. Child, as you can see, the marriage mouse is very obvious. It's not caught by you. What's the hurry? It's only been a while. It might come to me soon. Zhuo Wengong took out a fiery red fruit, which gave off a strong fragrance as soon as he took it out. Little thing, come to me and this blood-striped red fruit will be yours. He Zhong's expression changed greatly. He knew very well what the blood-striped red fruit was. It had a strong fragrance, which was very tempting to any magical beast. According to the custom of Red Flame City, choosing a husband was completely up to God. Now Zhuo Wengong was using the blood-striped red fruit to tempt the marriage mouse, which was obviously cheating. However, he was just a servant of the He family, while Qin Haodong was the son of the city governor. There was a big gap between their statuses, so he couldn't say anything. When he was thinking about whether he should invite his master over, he saw that the marriage mouse just glanced at the blood-striped red fruit and didn't show much interest. It was still jumping on Qin Haodong's shoulders. The complacency on Zhuo Wengong's face disappeared. The blood-striped red fruit was extremely rare. He had spent tens of thousands of top-grade spirit stones to get it, just to tempt the little thing in front of him. He had done many experiments before. Other magical beasts would drool after seeing the fruit, but the marriage mouse didn't care about it. Or did it mean that there was something on Qin Haodong that attracted it more? Seeing this scene, He Zhong breathed a sigh of relief. This was the best result, which saved a lot of trouble. The He family didn't want to have a conflict with the city governor unless it was absolutely necessary. Zhuo Wengong threw the blood-striped red fruit hard on the ground and said angrily, no, there must be something on this guy. Otherwise the marriage mouse wouldn't be like this. Qin Haodong was speechless. If he could cheat, he would find a way to drive the little thing away. You treat the young lady of the marriage contest as a treasure, but I only treat her as a big trouble. He Zhong said, young master, that's not right. According to the rules of our Red Flame City, the choice of the marriage mouse is the only thing that matters. As long as the person chosen by the karma mouse, he will be the son-in-law of our He family. Zhuo Wengong was so angry that his face turned red. Then he shouted, according to the rules, right? Then I'll challenge this guy now. Challenge? He Zhong's face suddenly changed. He said, young master, please think twice. Although our ancestors have a challenge rule, no one has used it for many years. Have you thought about the consequences? Zhuo Wengong shouted, don't think about it. I don't believe that I can't beat such a bumpkin. Well, since you have decided, I'll send someone to invite the young lady to preside over this challenge. Then he waved his hand and a servant beside him quickly flew away. Qin Haodong asked, Uncle, what's going on with this challenge? He Zhong explained, according to the rules of our ancestors, although the marriage mouse has chosen the son-in-law, if anyone is dissatisfied, they can also directly challenge him. For example, as long as young Master Zhuo wins the challenge, he will become the new son-in-law of our He family. The rules of the challenge are agreed by both sides, and the final result is in the hands of the young lady. Of course, the young lady's judgment must be fair, or she will not be able to stand in Red Flame City in the future. Qin Haodong was happy to hear this. There's no need to judge. I'll just give up, okay? He Zhong was speechless. Everyone else wanted to be the son-in-law of the He family, but this person seemed to be avoiding it. It was really strange. He said, the reason why this challenge hasn't been used for decades is that the result is too harsh. If the son-in-law fails the challenge, he will be killed on the spot to protect the chastity of our young lady. What the hell? Who made this rule? Hearing that he would lose his life if he lost, Qin Haodong waved his hand and said, forget it. Although he didn't want to accept this marriage, it was much better than losing his life. He had thought of looking for a chance to slip away, but He Zhong and the servants surrounded him tightly, as if they were guarding against this move. It was not easy to leave. It seemed that he could only wait for a chance later. He asked again, "What if I win? What's the price? There will be some punishment. In that case I won't have to do anything else." "Of course not." He Zhong said, "According to the rules of our ancestors, the one who loses the challenge will be a slave for life." Qin Haodong smacked his lips. The price was really high. No wonder no one had challenged for so many years. The problem now was that Zhuo Wengong risked such a big price to challenge him. Did he look like a soft persimmon? While he was thinking, several figures rushed from a distance. The leader was a woman in a red wedding robe. It was He Ziwei, the young lady of the He family. Although Qin Haodong had seen many beautiful women, he was still a little stunned when he saw He Ziwei. This woman not only had a pretty face that was extremely exquisite, without any flaws, but also had a curvy body. She couldn't be more devilish. Especially her two slender and straight legs, which were even more perfect than a Photoshop. After seeing her, he understood why Zhuo Wengong risked being a slave for life to challenge him. This woman was too tempting. "Monsieur here." He Zhong immediately went to greet her. He Ziwei nodded and then asked, "What's going on? Why did you call me here?" "Well, this Mr. Qin won the favor of the rat of marriage and became the new son-in-law of the He family." He Zhong pointed to Qin Haodong and said, "But Mr. Zhuo was not convinced, so he issued a challenge. That's why I asked you to host it." He Ziwei looked in the direction of He Zhong's finger and saw a handsome and dignified young man standing there. She couldn't help but feel relieved. Chapter 966. The marriage rat was a custom in Red Flame City that had been passed down for many years. People believed that the marriage rat could bring them a good marriage. However, she was worried that the destined love mouse would choose an old and ugly man for her before the result was confirmed. She was worried that the destined love mouse would choose an old and ugly man for her. She was not relieved until she saw Qin Haodong's appearance. She was secretly happy that she had not raised this little thing for so many years in vain. The man she chose for her was really good. But now there was a problem. She was very satisfied with her husband, but Zhuo Wengong came out to make trouble. She had to get rid of him. Thinking of this, He Ziwei frowned and said to Zhuo Wengong, "Child Zhuo, are you sure you want to do this?" "Of course, my feelings for little sister Ziwei can be seen by the sun. No matter what price I have to pay, I will marry you. Child Zhuo, I think you should reconsider. We are really not suitable for each other." As a young man who also grew up in Red Flame City, how could she not know what kind of person this playboy was? She hated him from the bottom of her heart. Zhuo Wengong laughed and said, "Sister Ziwei, in fact, you don't know me yet. As long as you get to know me better, you will immediately feel my kindness." He Ziwei frowned even more, but she had no choice. This rule was left by the ancestors. Since she had chosen to use the marriage rat to find a husband, she had to accept other people's challenges. "Since you insist, let's start the challenge." He Ziwei said, "According to the rules, the challenge is proposed by the challenger. What do you want to compete with?" Zhuo Wengong waved the folding fan in his hand and said coolly, "I'm multi-talented and I can crush this bumpkin with any one of them. But I heard that Sister Ziwei likes delicious food and music. Then I'll challenge him with cooking, music and martial arts. 2 wins out of 3. Shameless. He Ziwei cursed in her heart. Everyone in Red Flame City knew that Zhuo Wengong was best at music and cooking. Now he was challenging Qin Haodong with his 2 best skills and said it in such a dignified way. It turned out that Scarlet Flame City City Lord Zhuo Wangsun liked to watch singing and dancing and eat good food the most, and Zhuo Wengong had been good at flattery since he was young. In order to obtain the position of City Lord in the future, other than practicing martial arts, he had been studying culinary arts and music. Coupled with his talent, he was quite accomplished in these 2 areas, and he was deeply favored by Zhuo Wangsun. Although he was angry, he couldn't show it. He turned to Qin Haodong and said, "What do you think, Mr. Qin?" "Sure." In Qin Haodong's opinion, Zhuo Wengong's proposal to compete with these 2 skills was simply asking for abuse. In terms of culinary skills, whether it was the Lingwu continent or the previous Earth, there was no place that could compare with the cuisine of China. As for music, he was confident that he would win. "All right, I'll announce the rules of the competition." He Ziwei said on the spot. According to the rules of Red Flame City, young Master Zhuo challenged young Master Qin. The rules of the challenge are 2 wins out of 3. They will compete in cooking, music and martial arts. Let the competition begin. Qin Haodong asked, What's the first round? Let's compete in cooking. Zhuo Wengong said with a proud face, today I'll show you what delicious food is. After he finished speaking, he directly took out kitchen utensils and various cooking supplies from his storage ring. It seemed that this guy was really good at cooking and he carried everything with him. He Ziwei looked at Qin Haodong with some worry. Young Master Qin, do you need us to prepare anything? No, I've brought everything with me. After saying that, Qin Haodong also took out his own kitchen utensils, but they were much simpler than Zhuo Wengong's. Next, the two of them showed their culinary skills and began to make delicious food. Zhuo Wengong's cooking movements were extremely skilled, and the colors were beautiful, dazzling people. Soon a strong aroma spread out. On the contrary, Qin Haodong looked much more low-key. No one had seen the kitchen utensils or ingredients before, and no one knew what he was cooking. Moreover, the aroma was not so strong, and there were occasional bursts of strange smell. Where did this young man come from? Does he know how to cook? What is he making? That's right. What did he make? The smell is a bit strange, and why is there an electric smell? Alas, he is destined to be no match for him in cooking. It's a pity that such a good young man will be beheaded soon. The onlookers were all shocked by Zhuo Wengong's cooking skills, and no one was optimistic about Qin Haodong. He Ziwei's heart was in her throat again. Although she was the host of this challenge, she could not have any obvious favoritism when she was the judge. Otherwise, with the customs of Red Flame City, not only her, but also the He family would find it difficult to establish a foothold here in the future. Zhuo Wengong's speed was extremely fast, and it did not take long for him to place 4 exquisite dishes in front of He Ziwei. Sister Ziwei, have a taste. These are the golden fish, venison with spirit grass, amber duck, and an immortal pork knuckle that I carefully cooked for you. Please have a taste now. He Ziwei picked up the prepared chopsticks and took a bite of each dish. She had to admit that Zhuo Wengong's cooking skills were really good. No wonder he could win Zhuo Wangsuan's favor. These dishes were all fragrant and tasted excellent. It was a pity that they were delicious, but in her mouth, it was extremely lonely. Was she really going to marry this playboy? Zhuo Wengong said proudly, how about it, Sister Ziwei? Is it delicious? When you marry into my house, I will cook for you every day. He Zhong saw through He Ziwei's thoughts and said, Miss, it's time to taste Mr. Qin's cooking. Zhuo Wengong said proudly, do you think that after tasting my food, the miss will still like other people's garbage? We'll know who's garbage after a competition. Qin Haodong said as he brought a tray over, Miss Ziwei, please have a taste of my cabbage with vinegar. He Ziwei said in surprise, what is vinegar? Qin Haodong said, it's a kind of seasoning I made. It tastes sour and it's very delicious when cooking. Ha 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 ha. Zhuo Wengong immediately laughed. Do you know how to cook? This is the first time I've heard that sour things can be used to cook. The cuisine of the Lingwu continent was relatively backward. Generally, the highlight of cooking was the fragrance and the seasoning was only oil and salt, so he didn't know what vinegar was at all. Qin Haodong said, whether it's delicious or not, you'll know after you taste it. As he said that, he opened the lid of the tray and a sour smell filled the air. Zhuo Wengong laughed again and said, that's the smell. You can't eat it just by smelling it. Qin Haodong ignored him and said to He Ziwei, Miss, please have a taste. As a miss of the first family, He Ziwei had never eaten such a delicious dish. She picked up the chopsticks and tried to add a piece of cabbage into her mouth, chewing slowly. Delicious, it's really delicious. The sour and fragrant taste of the cabbage with vinegar completely stimulated He Ziwei's taste buds. Her appetite was immediately aroused, and she picked up a few more pieces of cabbage and put them into her mouth. Then she put down the chopsticks and sighed, it's really delicious. I didn't expect sour things to be so delicious. Impossible, this is impossible. You must be partial to this toy boy. Zhuo Wengong suddenly jumped up, I've never heard that sour things can be used to cook dishes. Zhuo Wengong, please watch your words. He Ziwei didn't show any favoritism, so she said confidently, young Master Qin's dish is right here. You can try it yourself if you don't believe me. I'll try it. I don't believe that the cabbage with vinegar can be delicious. Zhuo Wengong said as he picked up the chopsticks, put a piece of cabbage into his mouth, and ate it in big mouthfuls. Soon a surprised look appeared on his face. As a person with excellent cooking skills, he could naturally appreciate the taste of this dish. This dish was indeed several levels higher than what he had made. He Ziwei said, how about it? Do you have anything else to say? Do you want me to find someone else to identify it? Zhuo Wengong's expression froze. I admit that this dish tastes really good, but I made 4 dishes. He can't beat my 4 dishes with 1 dish, can he? Don't worry, I have more here. Qin Haodong said as he took the second dish, opened the lid of the tray, and a plate of green food appeared in front of everyone. Young Master Qin, what is this? He Ziwei asked curiously. She was very surprised that she had never seen the dish that Qin Haodong took out before. Qin Haodong said, this dish is called bitter gourd salad. It tastes bitter. Nonsense, this is pure nonsense. Who has ever heard that bitter things can be cooked? Isn't this nonsense? Zhuo Wengong cried again. He Ziwei was not affected by him. With the precedent of the cabbage with vinegar, she picked up the chopsticks and put a piece of bitter gourd into her mouth. This bitter gourd did taste slightly bitter when it entered her mouth, but soon there was a fresh fragrance in the bitterness, with a sense of coolness. This kind of taste was really excellent and she had never tasted it before. Qin Haodong said, generally speaking, bitterness is difficult to be used in dishes, but my bitter gourd salad not only tastes cool and fragrant, but also has the effect of clearing heat and relieving heat, improving eyesight and detoxifying. Young Master Qin, you're really amazing. You can actually make the bitter taste so delicious. At this moment, He Ziwei looked at Qin Haodong with little stars in her eyes. She usually liked delicious food, but the cabbage with vinegar and this bitter gourd salad were delicious foods that she had never enjoyed before. Not only did they satisfy her taste buds, but they also opened a new window for her in the direction of food. He Ziwei, are you two acting together? I don't believe that bitter things can be used in dishes. Zhuo Wengong looked annoyed. He grabbed his chopsticks and put 2 pieces of bitter gourd into his mouth. Originally, he wanted to fiercely refute them after eating, but soon his tongue was conquered by the fragrance of bitter gourd salad. He Ziwei asked, how is it, young Master Zhuo? Is this dish delicious? This? Zhuo Wengong originally wanted to deny it, but with so many people watching he couldn't stare at her and lie. You win this dish, but I want to see what new tricks you can come up with. Chapter 967. Qin Haodong smiled and reached for the third dish. After opening the lid, a spicy aroma filled the air. He Ziwei sniffed her beautiful little nose and said, what's that smell? It smells weird, but it's not bad. This dish is called boiled fish. Please have a taste, Mississippi. He Ziwei picked up the chopsticks and put a piece of fish into her mouth. After chewing it a few times, she stretched out the chopsticks again and put the white and tender fish into her mouth one after another. Generally speaking, few girls could resist the temptation of boiled fish, and she was no exception. However, after a few mouthfuls, the numb and spicy taste filled her mouth. She began to wave her little hands to fan her mouth. What's that taste? It's so delicious, but it's so exciting. Qin Haodong took out a bottle of Sprite and gave it to her. This is called boiled fish. It's characterized by spicy and fragrant. The exciting taste you feel is spicy. He Ziwei picked up the Sprite and drank 2 mouthfuls. The spicy feeling in her mouth was a little better. Your water tastes so special and it's very delicious, she said with a burp. Hearing the conversation between the two, Zhuo Wengong didn't say anything this time. He picked up the chopsticks and began to taste it. He Ziwei said to He Zhong and others next to her, everyone try it. I promise you have never eaten this kind of food before. These people were curious and came over to try it. Soon everyone was conquered by the charm of boiled fish. A large basin of fish fillets was eaten up in the blink of an eye. The spicy taste is really special. It's so delicious. I have never eaten such delicious fish. Listening to the praise around him, Zhuo Wengong couldn't say anything and could only admit defeat silently. Qin Haodong took the last tray and said, Miss Ziwei, this is the last dish I made. Tastes a little special. You have to be mentally prepared. It tastes special. Weren't the previous 3 dishes special? He Ziwei had never tasted such a special dish before, so she was more curious about the plate in Qin Haodong's hand. You'll know after you taste it, Qin Haodong said as he opened the tray in his hand. Suddenly a strong stench filled the air. My God, what's this smell? Why is it so smelly? Is this still a dish? There must be a mistake. Bad ingredients were used. This thing is so smelly, how can I eat it? Everyone looked at the black thing on the tray and stepped back. They had no idea what Qin Haodong had made. Zhuo Wengong had suffered a series of setbacks. When he saw the dish, he immediately became spirited and shouted, Qin Haodong, what are you doing? How dare you feed Ziwei something that's broken? Qin Haodong smiled and said, this dish is called stinky tofu. It smells bad but tastes good. At the same time, it also tells everyone that smelly things are not necessarily bad things. After saying that, he picked up a toothpick on the plate and put a piece of stinky tofu into his mouth. Then he closed his eyes slightly and ate happily. Seeing the look of enjoyment on his face, Ziwei asked doubtfully, "Young Master Qin, is this thing really edible?" Qin Haodong smiled and said, "I promise as long as you eat, you won't be able to put down your chopsticks." If it weren't for the previous 3 dishes, Ziwei wouldn't have been able to make such a decision. At this moment she had already experienced the cooking skills of this special man, so she picked up her chopsticks and put a piece of stinky tofu into her mouth. It turned out that women's love for stinky tofu was far greater than that of men. When she was on Earth, she often saw a gorgeously dressed girl holding a box of stinky tofu snacks in her hand. This principle also applied to Ziwei. She carefully put a piece of stinky tofu into her mouth and gently bit it. The shell was a little crispy, and when she bit into the inside, the tender and smooth fragrance filled her mouth. "It's delicious, it's really delicious. It smells bad but it tastes good. It's really strange." After making a speech, she attacked the stinky tofu in front of her one after another. Soon there was only one piece left. Then she remembered Zhuo Wengong next to her and said, "There's only one piece left. Do you want to identify it? If not, I'll eat it." This. Zhuo Wengong looked confused. He had coveted Ziwei for a long time and knew this woman's preferences. She was very picky about food. If it was not delicious, it would be impossible for her to eat so much at once. However, if one were to talk about tasty, how could such a black and smelly thing taste good? It didn't make sense at all. With curiosity he put the last piece of stinky tofu into his mouth. Finally he experienced with his taste buds what it meant to smell bad and taste good. After eating it he closed his mouth, which was rare. The smell of stinky tofu made him speechless. Ziwei said, "Mr. Qin, the food you made is so delicious that I've eaten too much. In my hometown, girls like to eat some desserts after meals," Qin Haodong said. Qin Haodong delivered a big head crispy ice cream to Ziwei. "What's this? It looks so strange. It's still steaming." Ziwei took the ice cream in her hand and carefully licked it. She found that although it was steaming, it was still cold. She gently took a bite and shouted excitedly, "It's so sweet. It's really sweet. It's so delicious." After eating 2 bites of ice cream she said excitedly, "Mr. Qin, the food you made is so delicious. I'm afraid I can't leave you in the future." After saying that, she realized that she was a little too straightforward, and her cheeks couldn't help but blush. With the ice cream in her hand she looked like a little foodie, which made her look extremely cute. Standing next to her, Zhong secretly pulled her sleeve and said, "Miss, it's time to announce the result of this round of competition." Only then did Ziwei come to her senses. She glanced at Qin Haodong shyly and then said, "I announce that Mr. Qin is the winner of this round of cooking competition." Zhuo Wengong's face was livid. He had never expected that his best cooking skill would be defeated so miserably. The guy in front of him didn't play by the rules at all. Every dish had a new taste that he had never tasted before. Ziwei said, "Mr. Zhuo, do you want to continue? I advise you to stop here. Let's just pretend that nothing happened." She had already secretly fallen in love with Qin Haodong and didn't want any accidents to happen. Besides, he was the son of the city governor, so she wouldn't provoke him. Unexpectedly, Zhuo Wengong shook his head repeatedly. "That's impossible. Didn't he just lose one game? That guy was so lucky that he didn't play by the rules. I'll definitely beat him in the next competition of music." In his opinion, Qin Haodong's victory in cooking was due to some tricks. He had made 4 flavors that didn't exist before. However, music was different. If one didn't have a solid foundation, they wouldn't be able to use it. He had been studying hard with the senior musicians in the city governor's mansion all these years, so he was confident that his achievements in music were unparalleled. Ziwei shook her head helplessly. "Since Mr. Zhuo insists, then let's go to the next round. Who will go first?" She was a well-known talented woman and had a deep attainment in music. She was even not inferior to Zhuo Wengong, but she rarely showed it. Because of this, she knew the difficulty of learning music and felt that Qin Haodong would definitely lose this round. "I'll go first," Zhuo Wengong said confidently. "Boy, wait for me to play a song. You won't even have the courage to take out the zither." After that, he took out a zither from his storage ring and sat on the ground to play it melodiously. He was playing the song he was best at, called "Amidst the Flowers and Under the Moon." It was just right for the current situation. The sound of the zither was melodious. He played and sang at the same time. The whole music was so beautiful that everyone present couldn't help nodding. Zhuo Wengong looked proud. His song had been praised many times by his father, Zhuo Wangsun, and it was also highly sought after by the musicians in the mansion. As the song ended, He Ziwei's face became more and more gloomy. Even if she played the song herself, she wouldn't be able to play it at such a level. Her singing was also very good. After playing, Zhuo Wengong put away the zither and said proudly, "How about it? Boy Qin, do you still have the courage to continue?" Qin Haodong smiled and said, "You play the zither softly and you sing like a girl. Why wouldn't I dare to compete with you?" "Nonsense, do you know what music is?" Seeing his song being belittled, Zhuo Wengong jumped up and shouted, "Sing a bold song for me if you can." Qin Haodong glanced at him and turned to He Ziwei. "Miss Ziwei, can you play the flute? How about playing a song with me?" He Ziwei said with some embarrassment, "I can play the flute, but it's not appropriate. I'm afraid Mr. Zhuo won't agree." She wanted to help Qin Haodong with her attainments in music, but she was worried that Zhuo Wengong wouldn't agree. "It doesn't matter. I want this guy to lose convincingly." Zhuo Wengong didn't care at all. He knew that He Ziwei's attainments in music were a little worse than his. It was the first time for them to play together. How good could she be? "In that case, please play according to this music score, Miss Ziwei." Qin Haodong took out a music score and put it in front of He Ziwei. At the same time he took out a jade flute and gave it to her. He Ziwei took the flute and played it twice. Then she nodded and said, "Mr. Qin, I'm ready." Qin Haodong sat down, took out another zither and then played it melodiously. It was The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, which had once shocked the Chinese music world. As soon as the music started, everyone's heart trembled. The music was so beautiful and penetrating that it could shake people's minds. Old Mr. Huang Zhan's song was famous all over the country. Qin Haodong was also deeply fascinated by it, so he had practiced it more than once. At this moment he took it out and played it with ease. After the prelude, He Ziwei followed the music score and played the flute. The two of them were in harmony with each other, without any awkwardness like when they first cooperated. Then Qin Haodong sang at the top of his voice. "The sea laughs and the tide surges on both sides. Up and down with the waves I remember today. The heaven laughs and the tide surges in the world. God knows who wins and who loses. The rivers and mountains laugh. The mist and rain are far away. The waves wash away the mortal world. How many do you know in the secular world?" As soon as the song came out, a desolate atmosphere of Jianghu filled the whole place. At the same time there was no lack of lofty sentiments. The Lingwu continent had always valued martial arts. All the people present were warriors, so it was easy for them to feel the charm in the music. He Ziwei played the song according to the music score. Unconsciously, she was deeply immersed in it, as if her soul was melted by the song. Chapter 968. In the Chinese music industry, The Smiling, Proud in the Martial World was the song with the most Jianghu atmosphere. Even in Wuxia, where martial arts had declined, many people were excited by this song, let alone in the Lingwu continent where there were many warriors. After the song, everyone felt their hearts were ignited and filled with the heroic feelings of Jianghu people. There was no harm without comparison. After listening to The Smiling, Proud in the Martial World, the song that Zhuo Wengong had just sung was not worth mentioning at all. After a moment of silence, when everyone came to their senses, there was a burst of warm applause. "Good song. The song is really good. It's as if it was written for us martial artists. The song is also good. Mr. Qin is really a genius. He can compose such a good song and sing such a heroic song. Miss Qin and Mr. Qin are so good together. They are a match made in heaven." Hearing the discussion around her, He Ziwei's cheeks turned red. She looked at Qin shyly and had accepted the man in front of her in her heart. "I hereby announce that young Master Qin is the winner of this music competition. According to the previous rules, young Master Qin is the winner of this challenge." He Ziwei did not ask for Zhuo Wengong's opinion and directly announced the result. Although Qin Haodong was the son of the city governor, she had been completely conquered by this talented and handsome young man in front of her and could not tolerate anyone else. Zhuo Wengong's face was livid. The reason why he did not choose to compete with Qin Haodong alone was to show his versatility. However, he did not expect to create a chance for Qin Haodong to show off. He was slapped in the face. He said with a gloomy face, "Miss He, the challenge is not over yet. Isn't it too early for you to announce the result?" He Ziwei said, "Mr. Zhuo, have you forgotten that we agreed to win 2 out of 3? Now you have lost 2 in a row. Shouldn't it be over?" Zhuo Wengong said, "That's different. There is still one more. I want to compete with him in martial arts." "Mr. Zhuo, is it necessary? You have already lost. Even if you win the last one you will still lose. Of course it is necessary. Zhuo Wengong said gloomily, the last one is martial arts. What if he dies? Will the result be completely different? He Ziwei's expression changed greatly. It was obvious that the guy in front of her had become angry and wanted to kill her. She was very satisfied with her husband and did not want any accidents to happen, but she could not stop the current situation. According to the rules, 2 out of 3 matches would be the winner, but the other party's request for the last match was also within the rules. While she was in a dilemma, Qin Haodong said, let's do it. Let's do it. He Ziwei said nervously, but, Zhuo Wengong sneered and said, no buts. Since we've agreed on 3 rounds, we'll finish all 3 rounds. Qin Haodong gave her a comforting look. It's okay. Get ready for the 3rd game. He Ziwei gritted her teeth and ordered her servants to clear the place, preparing for the martial arts competition between the 2 of them. Qin Ziwei, and Qin He Arts Qin and Qin Song Qin Arts Qin Hating Haha and I Arts is He Kingdom and An Arts He. Qin Haodong nodded slightly, indicating that he knew. When everything was ready, a temporary arena was built. Qin Haodong stood in the middle of the arena. Zhuo Wengong gnashed his teeth and said, boy, get ready to die. After that, his aura suddenly broke out and he instantly reached the body integration stage. In Red Flame City, he was one of the best of the younger generation and he was proud of his cultivation. In his opinion, the boy in front of him, who was younger than him, could not reach the body integration stage or even the void refinement stage. Unexpectedly, Qin Haodong's aura rose rapidly and reached the body integration stage in an instant. Qin Haodong's aura was even stronger than his. How is this possible? Zhuo Wengong was stunned. The guy in front of him was better at cooking and music than him. His cultivation was also equal. How could he live? Qin Haodong said, Child Zhuo, are you ready? I'm going to start. Wait a minute. Zhuo Wengong stopped Qin Haodong and said, although it's a martial arts competition, it's boring to fight with punches and kicks. Well, how about we compete with hidden weapons? Ziwei stood aside and watched the battle. She was relieved to see that Qin Haodong's cultivation was not weaker than Zhuo Wengong's. At the same time he became more and more delighted. His marriage search this time was simply too perfect. He had actually found such a perfect husband. After hearing the proposal of competing with hidden weapons, she winked at Qin Haodong, telling him not to agree. Unexpectedly, Qin Haodong acted as if he didn't see it. He said straightforwardly, okay, we can compete in whatever you want. Zhuo Wengong was happy and said, we'll shoot hidden weapons at each other. Whoever is hurt by the hidden weapons first loses. Qin Haodong nodded and said, okay. Boy, go to hell. Zhuo Wengong raised his right hand and a cold light shot toward Qin Haodong's face like a meteor. What he shot out was a golden crossbow bolt. This wasn't an ordinary crossbow bolt. It was a magic artifact called the lightning crossbow. This kind of crossbow won by speed. For ordinary people, they would lose their lives when they saw it. Zhuo Wengong shot the electric crossbow unexpectedly. Qin Haodong fell to the ground with a thud. Aha boy, aren't you arrogant? Aren't you good at cooking? Aren't you good at music? How about now? You're still killed by my arrow? Zhuo Wengong laughed, while He Ziwei's face was as pale as paper. She was devastated. She had just found her Mr. Right. She didn't expect that he would die so soon. She would have to face this playboy in the future. How could she live? The onlookers were also shocked and regretful. But at this moment, Qin Haodong, who had fallen to the ground, suddenly stood up. He took down his right hand, which was lying on his chest. His 2 fingers were tightly clamping the tip of the electric crossbow, but his body was not injured at all. Even his clothes were not damaged. Sorry, I feel that the atmosphere is a little awkward. I was just joking with you. Qin Haodong raised his hand and threw the electric crossbow to the ground. He said disdainfully, such a rubbish thing can't hurt me. His primordial spirit was stronger than that of the first elder of the Ghost King sect. Although the electric crossbow was fast, it still couldn't escape the scanning of his primordial spirit. With his cultivation, as long as he could determine the trajectory of the electric crossbow, it was easy for him to catch it. He just wanted to play a trick on Zhuo Wengong, so he fell to the ground and pretended to be dead. Seeing that her sweetheart was fine, He Ziwei almost wanted to cry with joy. You dare to play a trick on me? Zhuo Wengong was furious. He waved his hands continuously, and silver flying knives shot out one after another. Unfortunately, this kind of hidden weapon posed no threat to Qin Haodong at all. His hands waved like a lotus flower, and the flying knives were caught in his hands one after another. Then he threw them to the ground like rubbish. He said with a smile, "What else do you have? Just use it." Torrential pear blossom needles. Zhuo Wengong was completely angry. He directly used his hidden weapon. Numerous thin needles, as many as the hair on a cow, shot toward Qin Haodong. This kind of hidden weapon was really powerful. It could be said that it could not be avoided. But after shooting it, Qin Haodong's shadow disappeared, and countless silver needles shot to the ground. What's going on? Where is he? Zhuo Wengong was looking around, but he heard Qin Haodong say behind him, "Is that all you've got?" When he used the torrential pear blossom needles, he had already foreseen it and left his original position in advance, so that his opponent completely shot nothing. "You?" Zhuo Wengong turned his head and his face was pale with anger. He didn't know where this toy boy suddenly jumped out from, but he was so difficult to deal with. "Your hidden weapon is almost used up. Now try mine." "Don't say I didn't tell you, my hidden weapon is a little special. You have to be careful." After Qin Haodong said that, he raised his hand and threw a round thing over. This thing was about the size of an adult's fist, and it was not very fast. It didn't seem to be a threat at all. Ziwei and others were extremely surprised. They didn't know what threat Qin Haodong's hidden weapon could have. A touch of disdain flashed in Zhuo Wengong's eyes. This thing was like a stone and he could easily reach out and catch it. "Can't you take my lightning crossbow? Let me take one for you to see." After saying that, he raised his hand and caught the round thing. He said proudly, "This thing of yours is not much stronger than a rock. Do you think it can hurt me?" As he spoke, he did not notice that the thing in his hand was emitting black smoke. "You guessed wrong. My hidden weapons are much more powerful than stones. 3, 2, 1. After saying that, Qin Haodong made a countdown. When he counted to 1, there was a loud bang and Zhuo Wengong's hand exploded. It exploded. What he had just thrown was not a concealed weapon but a hand with a fuse. But this was Red Flame City, and Qin Haodong didn't want to kill him. Therefore, he had used something that had not been refined in the mysterious evil condensing furnace. Otherwise he would have killed Zhuo Wengong. Even so, the powerful explosion still blasted Zhuo Wengong's face into ashes. Fortunately, his protective Jinqi was strong. Rei's right hand was only blasted open, and his muscles and bones were not injured. The people next to them were dumbfounded. They had never seen such a powerful hidden weapon. How could it suddenly explode? What is this thing? Zhuo Wengong was about to go crazy. Today he met this guy who refreshed his cognition again and again. It was originally a hidden weapon like a stone. How could it have such great power? "I have already said that my hidden weapons are a little special," Qin Haodong said with a smile. "Mr. Zhuo, now that you are injured, should you admit defeat?" Chapter 969. Bastard, I'll kill you? As the eldest son of Red Flame City, Zhuo Wengong had a smooth life since he was a child. Wherever he went, people would compliment him. He had never suffered such a loss. After being repeatedly humiliated and stimulated, his heart had completely collapsed. He rushed towards Qin Haodong crazily. "Go to hell." A long sword appeared in his palm, and he slashed out with a sharp sound of the air being torn apart. However, his strength was not as good as Qin Haodong's. Moreover, his mind was in chaos and he had lost his mind. As soon as Zhuo Wengong's sword stabbed out, he lost sight of Qin Haodong. Then a huge foot appeared in front of his chest. With a bang he flew out like a kite with a broken string. He spat out several mouthfuls of blood in the air. Qin Haodong had shown mercy, otherwise this kick would have been enough to send him to hell. Zhuo Wengong fell to the ground and struggled for a long time before he got up. He shouted with a ferocious face, "Qin Haodong, how dare you hurt me?" Ziwei cried, "Do you have any shame? I had already succeeded in choosing my husband. You were the one who proposed the challenge and provoked me again and again. You were the one who attacked first when the hidden weapon failed. What else do you have to say now? You bitch, you've wasted so many years of my sincerity. Just you wait. Sooner or later you'll take the initiative to climb into my bed." Zhuo Wengong gritted his teeth and pointed at Qin Haodong shouting, "And you ungrateful thing. How dare you touch my young governor? You'll die." After that, he turned around and flew towards the governor's mansion. Zhong said worriedly, "Miss, this guy seems to have gone back to complain to the governor." Ziwei's face lit up. "Don't worry about him. Let's go back. Father is still waiting." She turned around and said shyly, "Mr. Qin, come back with me." Qin Haodong nodded and followed Ziwei and a group of servants back to the He mansion in Red Flame City. The Vermilion Bird Kingdom was originally stronger than the Black Tortoise Kingdom. Red Flame City was built on a large scale. There were many residents in the city and it was a prosperous scene. The He clan was the #1 clan in Crimson Flame City. It was rumored that it had been passed down for thousands of years. Their mansion was also in the best location in the city, even better than the city lord's. It was richly ornamented, simple and unadorned. After entering the mansion and arriving at the main hall, a middle-aged man in his 50s or 60s was standing there with his hands behind his back. He was the current patriarch of the He family, He Changqing. Today was the day of his daughter's betrothal contest, and he attached great importance to it. He had been waiting here for the result. Master, we're back. He Changqing came in with He Ziwei and Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong glanced at He Changqing. This old man had reached the late stage of body integration. He Ziwei took He Changqing's hand and said in a low voice, "Father, this is Qin Haodong. He is also the husband that the rat of marriage chose for me." He Changqing looked at Qin Haodong and then nodded with satisfaction. "Not bad, young man. You look talented. No wonder you were chosen by the love mouse." Then he asked again, "Why did the betrothal contest take so long this time?" "It's like this, master." He Zhong asked the surrounding family members to leave, leaving only the He family's father, daughter, Qin Haodong and himself in the room. Then he told them about Zhuo Wengong's constant trouble and the final challenge. After he finished, He Ziwei said, "Father, Zhuo Wengong is so annoying. He's just annoying." Fortunately, young Master Qin defeated him. After hearing this, the smile on He Changqing's face quickly disappeared. He asked with a serious expression, "You mean little Qin not only won the challenge but also injured Zhuo Wengong?" "Yes, but Zhuo Wengong asked for it." He Ziwei said angrily, "I persuaded him several times not to challenge and even asked him to quit halfway, but he just didn't listen. If he wasn't the son of the city lord, I would have brought him back to be a servant." He Changqing did not speak. He kept pacing in the room with his hands behind his back and a serious expression. Seeing him like this, He Ziwei said, "Father, there's no need to be so nervous. This matter is Zhuo Wengong's fault. It has nothing to do with us." He Changqing stopped and said, "You're too shallow. Do you think that Zhuo Wengong has been pursuing you all these years just because he wants to marry you? Does he only want to marry you into the city lord's mansion? Isn't that so?" He Ziwei asked with a stunned expression. He Changqing shook his head and said, "Zhuo Wengong may only want to marry you, but Zhuo Wangsuan's purpose is to annex our entire He family. He has been thinking about us for a long time, but he didn't do it directly because we have thousands of years of inheritance and great influence in Red Flame City. I only have one daughter, so Zhuo Wangsun wants his son to pursue you and annex the He family by becoming our son-in-law." He Ziwei said, "Even so, it doesn't matter. Zhuo Wengong failed today and I have young Master Qin. In the future their conspiracy will never succeed." He Changqing said with a serious expression, "Zhuo Wangsun is a very greedy person. He won't give up so easily. Since the soft approach doesn't work, he will definitely use hard means. Today little Qin injured Zhuo Wengong and gave him a reason to do it. I think the city lord's mansion will soon take action against our He family." Hearing this, Qin Haodong secretly sighed in his heart. He had thought that he had been involved in this marriage contest, but he didn't expect it to be much bigger than he had imagined. It was simply a lie. He Ziwei said, "How is that possible?" "Father, aren't you worried too much? Our He family is the largest family in Red Flame City. We have thousands of years of inheritance, and we have second uncle in Vermilion Bird Royal City. I don't think Zhuo Wangsun will dare to do anything to us. Besides, even if he dares to do it, there are so many masters in our He family. Are we afraid of them?" He Changqing said, "Zhuo Wangsun will not let this matter go easily. Although the He family is powerful, we can't compete with the city lord after all. We will suffer in the end if we act rashly." Qin Haodong frowned slightly. He felt that the old man didn't seem to be telling the truth, at least some hidden things. He Ziwei said, "Then what should we do?" He Changqing thought for a moment and said, "Let's go to Vermilion Bird Royal City now. No matter how powerful Zhuo Wangsun is, his power is limited to Red Flame City. Your second uncle will be there, so he won't be able to make any waves." "Father, are we leaving now? Isn't it a bit too hasty?" He Ziwei really didn't want to leave in such a hurry. After all, today was the day of her marriage contest. According to the customs of Red Flame City, since a husband had been chosen, they would go to the bridal chamber at night. "We have to go now and we have to be fast. It may be too late if we wait any longer." He Changqing was extremely determined. He turned to He Zhong and said, I'll leave the He family to you for the time being. I'll go to King City with Ziwei and come back in a few days. He Zhong said, Don't worry, master. I will definitely take care of your family. He Changqing nodded and said to He Ziwei and Qin Haodong, Let's go right away. He Ziwei said, Father, don't you need to bring more people? He Changqing said, There's no need. The three of us will be a smaller target and won't be easily discovered. This is Red Flame City's Zhuo territory. If our family's movements are too big and too many people leave, I'm afraid it will immediately attract his attention. He Ziwei nodded and said, Well, I'll listen to you. He Changqing arranged a carriage and the three of them carefully left the city. Then they rose into the air and flew toward Vermilion Bird Royal City on their swords. Qin Haodong secretly laughed in his heart. He had just been married and now he had to run away. What was this? But rushing to Vermilion Bird Royal City was a good thing for him. His current goal was to find an opportunity to enter the Vermilion Bird Spirit Spring. Obviously, his chances would be greater when he reached King City. It would be best if he could find the specific location of the Vermilion Bird Spirit Spring. And from the conversation between the father and daughter, He Ziwei's second uncle seemed to have a very high status in Vermilion Bird Royal City. Perhaps it would be of some help to his plan. He Ziwei said, Father, if we leave, will they do something to our family? Of course not. He Changqing said, As long as we are here, the He family will not fall. If he acts rashly, he will only bring trouble to himself. So it's safer for us to leave. But I have a bad feeling now. I'm afraid that old thing Zhuo Sun won't let us go easily. We have to speed up. He Changqing was at the late stage of body integration. Qin Haodong and He Ziwei were at the early stage of body integration. Their flying speed was extremely fast. After a few hours, they were completely far away from Red Flame City. He Ziwei said, Father, we are now nearly 10,000 miles away from Red Flame City. I think you must be thinking too much. Maybe Zhuo Sun doesn't have that kind of idea at all. He Changqing frowned and said, That shouldn't be. With Zhuo Sun's character, he will definitely do something to us. Ha ha, old man, you really know me? With a burst of wild laughter, dozens of figures suddenly appeared in their direction. The leader was a middle-aged man in his 50s. He was wearing a luxurious robe and was plump. He looked very amiable, but his eyes flashed with a sharp light. He was Zhuo Sun, the city lord of Red Flame City. Zhuo Wengong was next to him. His face was still a little pale. It seemed that Qin Haodong's kick was really hard. Behind the father and son were 30 black-robed men. All of them had reached the body integration stage and were emitting a powerful aura. Zhuo Sun looked at He Changqing and said, Master He, where are you going in a hurry? He Changqing said, City Lord, you know that today is the day of my daughter's marriage. Ziwei is lucky to find a good son-in-law. I'm going to take them to Vermilion Bird Royal City to meet my second brother. Really? Why do I feel that you are running away? Zhuo Sun said, I don't care about your daughter's marriage, but that guy hurt my son. He has to give me an explanation. Chapter 970. Without waiting for He Changqing to speak, He Ziwei angrily said, Your son's injury is entirely his own fault. He was the one who insisted on challenging my husband. Can you blame anyone else for getting injured in a fight? And he lost the challenge. According to the rules of Red Flame City, he will become a servant of the He family. It's good that we didn't punish him. Zhuo Sun said arrogantly, Little girl, it's useless to tell me this. In my eyes, it's just this commoner who hurt my son. He Ziwei said angrily, You're the lord of a city. Are you being unreasonable? Zhuo Sun smiled disdainfully, Reason? In Red Flame City, my words are the reason. Rules are always set by strength. Zhuo Wengong shouted, Little bitch, did you hear that? As long as you obediently climb into my bed, my father might let the He family off. Zhuo Sun said, He Changqing, I'll give you two choices. Either you marry your daughter to my son and will be in-laws, or you die. Zhuo Sun, aren't you going too far? He Changqing said, Don't think you're great just because you're the lord. Don't forget that my second brother is the general of the Vermilion Bird Kingdom. Are you talking about He Zhanghai? He's really powerful and has a high position, but as long as I kill the three of you silently, no one will know that I did it. A cunning look flashed in Zhuo Wangsuan's eyes. Now you know why I let you go so far. If the three of you die here, no one will have anything to do with Red Flame City. Zhuo Wengong shouted with a ferocious look, Father, kill this old man and Qin Haodong. Leave He Ziwei to me. I want to play with her. He Changqing was shocked. It seemed that Zhuo Wangsun really wanted to kill them. Zhuo Wangsun, think about it carefully. There's no such thing as an impenetrable wall. As long as the news gets out, my second brother will take revenge on you. Zhuo Wangsun was the lord of Red Flame City. He had many masters under him. At present they were at an absolute disadvantage. He just wanted to scare him with his second brother's power. You're right. We have to be careful. Since you don't want to marry your daughter, there's no point in keeping this trash. As Zhuo Wangsun spoke, he raised his hand and slapped the back of Zhuo Wengong's head. Zhuo Wengong's entire body was smashed into a pile of minced meat and he fell from the sky. It was a pity that this guy was still dreaming and didn't understand how he died in the end. Qin Haodong and the other two were shocked. They did not understand what the old man meant. Why did he kill his son first? Are you surprised? Zhuo Wangsun smiled at the three of them. There's a surprise coming soon. After that, he waved his hand and the 30 men in black behind him each took out a grimace mask and put it on their faces. He himself also put on a golden grimace mask. Ghost King Sect, you are actually from Ghost King Sect? He Ziwei turned pale with fright. He Changqing shouted, Zhuo Wangsun, you, the dignified Qiyan City Lord, actually joined the Ghost King Sect. Aren't you afraid that your 9 generations will be exterminated? Oldie, you're wrong. Zhuo Wangsun, the Qiyan City Lord, did not join our Ghost King Sect, so he died 5 years ago, and I am the 8th elder of the Ghost King Sect. This trash is not my son at all. The reason why I didn't kill him was that I wanted to control your He family through him. Now that this plan has failed, there's no point in keeping him, so it's better to kill him. After putting on the golden mask, the 8th elder's words were extremely gloomy. He Changqing said in shock, you killed Zhuo Wangsun and pretended to be the Qiyan City Lord, and your purpose is our He family? That's right, our Ghost King Sect has done so much for your He family. The 8th elder said, since things have been made clear today, I don't want to talk nonsense with you. Hurry up and hand over what we want or all 3 of you will die. He Changqing's expression changed slightly and then he said, I don't know what you want. The 8th elder said, are you pretending to be confused? Stop talking nonsense and quickly hand over the black demon bead. It's useless for your He family to keep it. It will only bring disaster. Qin Haodong was secretly surprised. He didn't know what treasure this black demon bead was that could make the Ghost King Sect spend so much effort. He Changqing said, I don't know what you're talking about. We can give you some spirit stones but we don't know what the black demon bead is. I knew you wouldn't take it out easily. The 8th elder waved to the black-clothed man behind him and said, do it, catch this old guy's daughter and see if he will hand over the black demon bead. After receiving the order, 30 black-clothed men swarmed up and attacked He Changqing and the other 2. How dare you? He Changqing's cultivation was at the late Deshang stage, which was a little higher than these black-clothed men. He raised his hand and slapped a ghost slave away, protecting Qin Haodong and He Ziwei behind him. But these black-clothed ghost slaves were too many. Even if He Changqing had the advantage in cultivation, he couldn't resist the attack of so many people in a short time, let alone take care of Qin Haodong and He Ziwei. Qin Haodong took out the Shen Yuan sword and joined forces with He Ziwei. Although they were barely able to resist the attack of the ghost slaves, they were also overstretched and embarrassed. The 8th elder was obviously not satisfied with the situation in front of him. Suddenly, his figure disappeared from where he was and appeared in front of He Changqing like a ghost. He slapped his chest with his palm. He Changqing's cultivation was originally inferior to the 8th elder, and now he was facing the attack of so many ghost slaves. He had no time to care. He tried his best to dodge to the side, but he only avoided the vital part of his chest. His left shoulder was smashed by the 8th elder's palm. He Changqing was injured and the situation became precarious. Qin Haodong wanted to take the Yuan Burst pill, but he also had some concerns. Although after taking the Yuan Burst pill, his cultivation would instantly reach the peak of the form synthesis stage, and it would not be a problem to deal with these people in front of him, but what about the subsequent period of weakness? After his primordial spirit was damaged, he could not use the 7th Order Pagoda for the time being. At that time, who could guarantee his safety? But if he did not take the Yuan Burst pill, the situation in front of him could not be solved at all. Just when he was in a dilemma, there was a fluctuation in the spirit beast bag. Qin Haodong was overjoyed. At the critical moment, the sleeping 3-legged golden toad finally woke up. The 8th elder's attack was successful, and he looked at He Changqing and the other 2 people proudly. Old He, I ask you again, are you going to hand it over or not? The palm just now had completely broken the bones of He Changqing's left arm. At this time he endured the pain and said, "I really don't know what you are talking about. You won't shed a tear until you see the coffin. Now I will strip your daughter naked and see if your mouth can still be so hard." After saying that, he suddenly stretched out his big hand and grabbed He Ziwei. Seeing that his daughter was in danger, He Changqing's eyes were blood red, and his eyes were about to split open. But he was seriously injured and had no ability to stop it. At this moment, a huge three-legged golden toad suddenly appeared in front of the eighth elder out of thin air. It lifted its huge foot and slapped him out. The three-legged golden toad had the blood of the dragon clan. This slap was so powerful that the eighth elder was slapped nearly 100 meters away. He spat out mouthfuls of blood in the air, and the blood dyed the golden mask red. The other ghost slaves were standing next to him. Before they could react, the three-legged golden toad's big tongue rolled up and swallowed the three of them. Seeing the sudden appearance of such a ferocious magical beast, everyone else was dumbstruck, including He Changqing and He Ziwei. They were so scared that they retreated. Qin Haodong said, "Don't be afraid, this is my spirit beast, three-legged golden toad." "Is this your spirit beast? Too powerful." He Ziwei looked at Qin Haodong and her eyes flashed with excitement. Her husband was really powerful, and he had such a high-level spirit beast. The eighth elder finally stabilized his body and looked at all this with red eyes. Originally he had a good plan to crush He Changqing with absolute strength. As long as he could catch He Ziwei as a hostage, he was not afraid that the old man would not hand over the black demon bead. But now the situation had changed. Qin Haodong suddenly appeared and made an extremely powerful magical beast, whose strength was comparable to that of an expert at the peak of the form synthesis realm. He had been operating in Red Flame City for 5 years, and his purpose was to get the black demon bead. Seeing that success was close at hand, how could he be willing to leave? He roared wildly to his ghost slaves, "Attack together, there is only one beast. No matter what, we must catch He Changqing and He Ziwei. Kill that Qin Haodong directly for me." These ghost slaves were not afraid of death. After receiving the order, they swarmed up again and attacked the 3 people and 1 beast. After sleeping for so long, the three-legged golden toad was very excited after recovering. It rushed into the ghost slaves and showed its power. However, although it was powerful, it could not destroy so many ghost slaves in a short time. After more than a dozen ghost slaves surrounded the three-legged golden toad, the others rushed to Qin Haodong, He Changqing and He Ziwei. The eighth elder took off the mask on his face, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and looked at the scene in front of him with a sneer on his face. "Boy, even if you have a powerful magical beast, it will still be caught by me." As soon as he thought of this, he saw a big black guy suddenly appear in Qin Haodong's hand. This thing looked like a weapon, but he had never seen it before. He Changqing and He Ziwei were also puzzled. They did not understand what he was going to do at this critical moment. The ghost slaves didn't care about this. They swarmed up and rushed over, waving the ghost knives in their hands. But at this moment, the big guy in Qin Haodong's hand suddenly made a loud roar, and then spat out a long tongue of fire. Jiateran heavy machinery gun. This was the weapon he got in the unique Devil Island, and it was made from the mysterious gathering spirit furnace. Bullet. The fierce firepower, coupled with the murderous bullets, suddenly the ghost slaves fell from the air, one by one fell to the ground and became meat paste. In just a few seconds, these more than a dozen ghost slaves were killed. Qin Haodong breathed a sigh of relief. He was surrounded just now, so he couldn't use this kind of hot weapon. The appearance of the three-legged golden toad gave him enough time and distance to let Jiatelinji the gun exerted its own strength. The eighth elder stood in the air with his mouth wide open. He was completely shocked by the scene in front of him. What magic weapon did this young man use? How could it have such great power? Just when he was in a daze, the three-legged golden toad had come to him again, and its huge foot slammed down hard, directly hitting his head. This time the eighth elder was not so lucky. His whole upper body was smashed into meat paste and fell to the dust with a plop. The other dozen ghost slaves turned around and wanted to run, but they could not escape Jiate no matter how fast they were. Lin Ji the gun was fired, and in just a few seconds all of them were shot into sieves. He Changqing was dumbfounded and asked in surprise, "Little Qin, what kind of magic treasure is this?" Chapter 971. He Ziwei looked at Qin Haodong with eyes full of love, shock and confusion. Ever since this man appeared, he had refreshed her knowledge again and again. He cooked different dishes and sang a tune that she had never heard before. Now he used an extremely strange divine weapon to kill dozens of masters in the form synthesis stage in the blink of an eye. She really didn't know what kind of man the marriage rat had found for her. This is a weapon my master left me. Sometimes it's quite useful. Qin Haodong naturally couldn't explain to them what Jiate was. Lin Zhongxing spear. He could only vaguely explain it and then put it into the storage ring. The crisis had been resolved. In addition, He Changqing was seriously injured. They didn't continue their journey but found a flat place to land. He asked the three-legged golden toad to check if there were any ghost slaves of the Ghost King sect alive and began to treat He Changqing. He checked his injured left arm and asked for information by marrying you. Qin Haodong said, on the other hand, it also shows that the Ghost King sect attaches great importance to the Black Demon bead. That's why they went through so much trouble to get it. He Ziwei said anxiously, what are you two talking about? Tell me, do we have the Black Demon bead or not? Girl, what's the hurry? That thing is of no benefit to us at all. He Changqing smiled slightly. Our family was one of the 7 families of the alien demon emperor's palace in the East Jin Kingdom. However, in recent years our family has been declining and our talents have withered. We are no longer as glorious as we used to be. He Ziwei said in surprise, it turns out that the legend is true. We really have the Black Demon bead. Why didn't you tell me before? He Changqing said, according to the teachings passed down by our ancestors, the Black Demon bead must be kept secret and never leaked. Why would I tell you? He Ziwei took He Changqing's hand and said, show me what kind of treasure this Black Demon bead is. He Changqing said, it's a treasure for the alien demons, but it's a disaster for us humans. What's there to see? He Ziwei said coquettishly, then I want to see it too. Well, I'll show you if you want. He Changqing stretched out his uninjured right hand. With a thought, a black bead the size of an egg appeared in his palm. Look, this is the legendary Black Demon bead that can revive the alien demons. He Ziwei reached out and held the Black Demon bead in her palm. After a serious look, she said, I can't see anything special from this. Young Master Qin, take a look. Is there anything special? As she spoke, she handed the Black Demon bead to Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong took it and looked at it, but he did not see anything special about it. He scanned it with his primordial spirit again, but was surprised to find that his invincible primordial spirit could not penetrate the Black Demon Pearl. This Black Demon Pearl contained extremely powerful energy, but it was unknown how to activate it. After looking at it for a while, he returned the Black Demon Pearl to He Changqing. He Ziwei said, this is a treasure left by the alien demon. What does the Ghost King sect want with them? Little Qin, what do you think? He Changqing looked at Qin Haodong and his words sounded like he was testing him. Qin Haodong thought for a moment and said, I think there are 2 possibilities for the Ghost King sect to snatch the Black Demon bead. He Ziwei said, young Master Qin, what is it? Tell me quickly. The first possibility is that someone in the Ghost King sect knows how to use the Black Demon bead and can get benefits from it. He Changqing nodded and said, yes, what about the second possibility? Qin Haodong said, although the human race won the war against the demons, it was not guaranteed that they could completely eradicate the alien demons. The Ghost King sect is likely to be a remnant of the alien demons, or they have an inextricable relationship with the alien demons. That's why they want to collect the 7 Black Demon beads, revive the Devil God and regain control of the Lingwu continent. Personally, he was more inclined to the second possibility. No wonder the Ghost King sect had been sending people around recently. Their purpose should be to find information about the Black Demon bead. Yes, what you said is exactly what I'm thinking. He Changqing was very satisfied with Qin Haodong's answer. In short, the Black Demon bead is extremely important to the Ghost King sect. Otherwise they wouldn't have spent so much manpower. He Ziwei said worriedly, what should we do? We can't let the Ghost King sect get the Black Demon bead no matter what. Qin Haodong said, now we have 1 Black Demon bead here. I don't know where the other 6 are. Will they fall into the hands of the Ghost King sect? He Changqing said, after the 7 major families won, they scattered throughout the Lingwu continent. They didn't contact each other and almost forgot each other's existence, let alone know how they are now. Qin Haodong said, Uncle, does the He family know which 6 major families are? He Changqing shook his head and said, back then the ancestors only asked us to protect the Black Demon bead. All other information has been lost. He Ziwei said, I hope those families won't be discovered by the Ghost King sect. Ghost King sect's power is too strong. This time only 1/8 elder came and almost annihilated our He family. The He family has already developed to our generation. The number of people in the He family is already declining, long lost the grace and power of the 7 big families. He Changqing sighed, looked up at Qin Haodong and said, "Little Qin, I can see that you are not an ordinary person. In order to ensure the safety of the black demon bead, I want to give it to you. What do you think?" Chapter 972. Qin Haodong said, "Uncle, you trust me so much. Aren't you afraid that I'm a liar?" He Changqing said, "I've lived for so many years and I'm confident that I can judge people accurately. When you just got the black demon bead, your eyes were clear, without any greed or desire. How could such a person be a liar? Moreover, this black demon bead is only useful to the alien demons. If anyone else takes it, they will only be responsible for it and will not benefit from it." When Qin Haodong was on Earth, he had been harmed by the alien demon. If the devil god was really resurrected, it might continue to threaten his home through that passage. From the bottom of his heart, he naturally did not want the black demon pearl to fall into the hands of someone with ulterior motives. Once his primordial spirit had completely recovered, he would place the black demon pearl into the 7th tier pagoda. No one would be able to find it no matter what. Thinking of this, he said, "All right, as long as Uncle trusts me, I will definitely keep this black demon pearl safe and not let it fall into anyone's hands. All right, I thank you on behalf of all of humanity." He Changqing handed the black demon bead to Qin Haodong. Seeing that her father trusted her sweetheart so much, He Ziwei was very happy. She said, "Father, now that the fake city lord is dead, do we still need to go to the Vermilion Bird Imperial City? Should we return to Red Flame City?" He Changqing said, "Although we have already killed the 8th elder, but the Ghost King sect has lost so many people they might come back for revenge. How about this, you go to the Vermilion Bird Imperial City with little Qin, and I'll return to Scarlet Flame City alone." He Ziwei worriedly said, "Father, since Red Flame City is still in danger, you should come with us. With my second uncle in the Vermilion Bird Imperial City, the Ghost King sect won't dare to cause trouble." Things are different now. Now that the city lord of Scarlet Flame City has suddenly disappeared, if our He clan were to leave, it would definitely arouse suspicion. Once the Ghost King sect is alerted, it will bring unnecessary trouble to our He family. The safest way is for you and little Qin to go to the Vermilion Bird Imperial City, and I'll go back to Red Flame City to hold the fort. He Ziwei knew what her father said made sense, so she said, "All right, you must be careful. Don't worry, this old man is old, I can take care of myself." After resting for such a long time, He Changqing's injuries had almost recovered. After saying goodbye to the two, he turned back and flew in the direction of Red Flame City. Qin Haodong and He Ziwei continued to rush in the direction of the Vermilion Bird Royal City. About 2 days later, a huge city appeared in their sight. Similar to the Black Tortoise Royal City, the Vermilion Bird Royal City also had an array that prohibited flying. The two of them arrived in front of the city gate. He Ziwei showed the family badge that could prove her identity to the guards and walked in. Compared to the Black Tortoise Royal City, the Vermilion Bird Royal City was much more spacious and prosperous. The streets were bustling with pedestrians, and the hawkers hawked their wares one after another. He Zhanghai was the mighty martial general of the Vermilion Bird Kingdom and had quite a high status here. He Ziwei was also very familiar with the Vermilion Bird Kingdom, so the two of them quickly arrived at the general's mansion. Seeing his niece suddenly appear, He Zhanghai was very enthusiastic and helped the two of them settle down in the mansion. However, he held an important position in the Vermilion Bird Kingdom and was very busy. After eating lunch with the two of them, he hurriedly left. Staying in the mansion was boring. He Ziwei said, "Haodong, have you been to the Vermilion Bird Kingdom before?" Qin Haodong shook his head and said, "No, this is the first time." "Then let me take you out for a walk and see the scenery of the Vermilion Bird Kingdom." "Sure." Qin Haodong also didn't want to stay in the mansion like this. He wanted to contact more people so that he could have more channels to search for information about the Vermilion Bird Spirit Spring. The two of them left the general's mansion and walked around the Vermilion Bird Kingdom. They looked left and right and walked around the royal city. About 2 hours later, they arrived at a bustling commercial street. This was the most crowded place in the Vermilion Bird Kingdom. On both sides of the street there were all kinds of restaurants and tea houses, and the street hawkers hawked all kinds of local products. As the two of them walked forward, a woman in white suddenly appeared not far away from them. "Big brother, have you seen this person before?" "He is my husband. He went missing a few days ago," the woman in white said as she showed the portrait in her hand to a middle-aged man. Although the portrait was a bit rough, Qin Haodong's figure could still be vaguely seen. "I haven't seen it before. The middle-aged man shook his head and continued to walk forward. Qin Haodong grabbed Ziwei and didn't dare to walk forward anymore because the woman in white was the great elder of the Ghost King sect, Niu Tsuehua. He didn't expect this woman to also find the Vermilion Bird Kingdom. What he was most worried about now was that Niu Tsuehua would suddenly regain her memory. At that time he would be in big trouble. At this time, a few hooligans came over and surrounded Niu Tsuehua. Little girl looking for a man? No need to be so troublesome, we are all good men, you can just pick one. It seemed that there were hooligans everywhere and these people came to take advantage of them. Ziwei couldn't stand this kind of thing and said, "Let's go take a look, we can't let these hooligans bully people." Qin Haodong pulled her back. "Don't be anxious, let's take a look first, who is bullying, who is not sure." These hooligans dared to take liberties with the great elder of the Ghost King sect, they were basically dead. Lu Tsuehua glanced at the people in front of her and coldly said, "All of you get out. This girl is quite hot, I like this temperament the most. You want me to get out, let's go to bed together? Little girl, we brothers will definitely make you feel like you're in heaven," several ruffians said with a cheeky smile while trying to make a move on Niu Tsuehua. "You want to die." Niu Tsuehua shouted angrily, and the hooligans flew to both sides as if they had encountered a bomb, and fell into the smelly ditch, lying there motionless, not knowing whether they were dead or alive. The people around were shocked, they didn't expect such a beautiful woman to be a master. Feeling the strong breath of the other party, Ziwei's expression changed greatly and she said nervously, She is a master of the Deshang stage? We'd better stay away from her, this woman is very dangerous." Qin Haodong took Ziwei and turned back, while Niu Tsuehua acted as if nothing had happened, still holding the portrait in her hand and asking people on the roadside, "Have you seen my husband?" Ziwei asked, "Do you know her?" Qin Haodong nodded, "I've met her twice." Ziwei suddenly stopped, looked at him and said, "Are you the man she is looking for? The portrait in her hand really looks like you." Qin Haodong said, "Yes, the person she is looking for is me, but things are not as you think." Ziwei said, "She said she is looking for her husband. Is she your woman?" "I wouldn't dare to marry her, I'd be tired of living." Ziwei said anxiously, "What the hell is going on? Tell me quickly." Polygamy had always been practiced in the Lingwu continent. It was okay to have 2 more women, but she didn't want the man she liked to be a person who abandoned her. Qin Haodong didn't know what to do, so he simply told her what had happened. However, he said that the cause of the injury was caused by his magic weapon. He finally said, "She has completely lost her memory now, who knows when she will regain it, so it is still very dangerous, we must stay away from her." "You mean she is actually the first elder of the Ghost King sect?" Ziwei opened her mouth in surprise. She knew how powerful the Ghost King sect was. Just now, the 8th elder almost destroyed the He family, let alone the first elder. "It's true, but she has forgotten her identity now. I told her that her name is Niu Tsuehua. The people of the Ghost King sect have been wearing masks before, so not many people know her true face. Generally, no one knows her true identity. Niu Tsuehua, such a rustic name, you are really bad." After knowing the truth, Ziwei didn't care and giggled. While they were talking, there was a stir in the crowd in front of them. Ziwei looked over there and saw 5 women coming from the opposite side. These women were all beautiful, and any one of them was as brave as her. No wonder it caused such a big stir. The girl who was walking in the front was holding a portrait in her hand. She asked as she walked, "Uncle, have you seen this person? Sister, have you seen this person?" The girls behind her were the same, holding portraits in their hands and asking questions. Qin Haodong was slightly stunned. He knew these girls. They were the little she-devil Murong Jinghong, Fang Qiong, Yun Chanqian, and 2 Jiao Jiao from the south courtyard. He didn't expect that these girls would come to the Vermilion Bird Royal City. Seeing his expression, Ziwei said in surprise, "They are also looking for you? Don't tell me they are also elders of the Ghost King sect?" Qin Haodong said, "They are all from the Black Tortoise Academy. They are looking for me." At this time, the little she-devil stopped an old man and asked, "Uncle, have you seen this person?" "I haven't seen this person, but I saw a woman looking for him over there." "Someone else is looking for him?" The little she-devil asked in surprise, "Uncle, where is the person you mentioned?" The old man pointed to the back and said, "Over there, a beautiful woman in white clothes." After the old man left, the little she-devil turned around and said to the others, "I heard that someone is also looking for little brother. Let's go and have a look. Maybe it's someone we know." 2 Jiao Jiao said, "How many women has this guy offended? He is already in the Vermilion Bird Royal City, and there are still women looking for him. Fang Qiong said, actually this is good news. If there are women in the Vermilion Bird Royal City who know senior brother, it means that he is probably here. The little she-devil said excitedly, Sister Fang is right. Let's go and have a look. At least we can get some news about little brother. Then the girls stopped looking for little brother. They put away the portraits in their hands and were about to rush in the direction the old man said. Qin Haodong couldn't let them meet the first elder of the Ghost King sect, so he hurried to stop them. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.